telecast is available on ESPN2 HD, presented by Vizio. Just a few minutes now from the green flag. The NASCAR Busch Series heads south of the border. For only the third time ever, you've seen the color, the pageantry of this race. The city of more than 20 million people. Motorsports taking center stage at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And some of NASCAR's best have headed south to challenge the local heroes. And of course, Juan Pablo Montoya. So stand by for racing from Mexico City right now. ESPN2 proud to continue our coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series, race 3 of 35, but a very special event and a very special flavor. We'll take you up now to the hombre in the booth who'll call the race, Jerry Punch. Jerry?
All right, thanks, Chris. This is the first of 3 road course events on the 2007 NASCAR Busch Series schedule, with each of them taking place in their different countries. This has really become somewhat of an international series here. And, of course, the international flavor, today's starting field has road course veterans and experts representing 6 different countries. Hello, everyone. Along with our experts, Rusty Walsh, Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us here in Mexico. And, Rusty, you ran so well, finishing 6th here in the inaugural Busch Series race 2 years ago. And a lot of young drivers have come to you for advice with questions like, hey, where am I going to get in trouble and where can I pass? What'd you tell them?
Jerry, I told them the first place where you get in trouble is in turn 1. You're running 180 miles an hour down in that corner. If you overdrive that corner, you could slide out in the dirt and that could ruin your day. The next place you can get in trouble is turn 4. You can have a lot of problem there. It's a passing zone. You could slide off there. But you know what? Let's not beat up on the rookies, because the veterans seem to make a lot of mistakes also. Let's take a look at Greg Biffle, what happened to him. In turn 8, overdrove the corner, out to the grass, into the wall.
Even the veteran Biffle can bounce off the concrete. Now, where do you pass on this tough course?
Jerry, the best place to pass is down into turn 1. Again, 180 miles an hour, but you can pass a lot of cars under braking into turn 1. The next place, down into turn 4. A lot of braking right there. You can outbrake somebody and pass them pretty easy.
Andy, despite all the talent in the seats today, there are those on pit road who believe that this outcome today will be dictated by a crew chief who makes the right pit strategy call. How does that happen?
Well, Jerry, as a crew chief, we like to think we can make a call that'll win any race anywhere, but at a road course, it takes about 1.5 minutes to make a lap around here. So you can make a pit stop and not lose a lap under green. That changes the strategy quite a bit. These guys are going to have to gamble. They're going to have to gamble on when they make that last pit stop. They're going to try to be the first one to make that last pit stop and gamble on getting a certain amount of caution flag laps to extend their range so they can make it to the end. Now, if you get those caution laps, they'll be fine, but if they don't, it could get very interesting.
So we have the gamblers who are the crew chiefs on pit road, and we have the guys who are the drivers trying to play it safe and stay on the racetrack and not get into trouble. Well, it's time to go down trackside for the words we've all been waiting for, the command to start.
1. Gentlemen, start your engine!
Bienvenidos amigos aquí al Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Hemos empezado a ver que los autos ya se mueven, ya encendieron sus motores.
Well, the engines have now fired, and this international field of 43 drivers is saddled up and ready to race, and so are we. Well, if you were riding aboard the space shuttle and want to know exactly where we are, the Google Earth folks will show you we are 15 minutes from downtown Mexico City here at the historic Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez road course. Our full circle coverage coming your way. English coverage on ESPN2 and ESPN 360. The simulcast of Spanish coverage on ESPN Deportes. And for the first time ever, a live sporting event in Spanish on ESPN. Updates on ESPN.com. ESPN News, as well as ESPN Radio. ESPN Full Circle for the NASCAR Busch Series race here at Mexico City. And we'll have 7 high-definition onboard cameras. We'll show you 6 of them right here. As you see Mike Wallace there in the Geico Chevrolet. David Rudeman, the Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. David Gilliland, the FreeCreditReport.com Ford. Michelle Jourdain Jr., the Dish Network Ford. Ron Fellows, the Camping World Chevrolet. And, of course, on the front row, Mexico City native Carlos Contreras and the Family Dollar Dodge. Now, our 7th onboard camera will have 2 cameras riding along here with Colombian native and international superstar Juan Pablo Montoya and the Texaco Haviland Telcel Dodge. All right, let's take a look at our starting grid here today as we'll show you how they will line up behind the pace car. 46-year-old Scott Pruitt picks up his 2nd career NASCAR Busch Series pole and only his 7th start. And beside him, Mexico City native Carlos Contreras in a Dodge. Back in row 2, how about Juan Pablo Montoya, the former Formula One superstar and former pole sitter here, and Mexico native Jorge Guetters. Back in row 3, last year's winner Denny Hamlin driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, and a 3-time NASCAR Busch Series winner on a road course, Ron Phelps.
Row 4, Boris Stud, the road racing superstar, and Regan Smith on the outside. Row 5, Carl Edwards. A lot of guys think he's going to win the title this year. And road racing ace, P.J. Jones on the outside.
In row 6, we got Michelle Jourdain in the 17 and Marcus Ambrose. Row 7, we got Stephen Light and youngster Brad Coleman.
On row 8, J.J. Yaley and former NASCAR Busch Series champion Greg Biffle. Watch for him to come from the back of the pack. In row 9, Adrian Fernandez, one of the most popular drivers in the history of Mexican motorsports, and beside him, Bobby Hamilton Jr. And in row 10, Scott Wimmer in the 29 car for Richard Childress Racing, and Herman Quiroga Jr. He's very good on the road course. He should be a factor early on as well.
Row 11 on the inside, David Gilliland. And on the outside, my son, Stephen Wallace. Row 12 on the inside, Jason Loeffler. On an outside, Ruben Pardo.
In row 13, we got David Rudeman recovering from his wreck last week in California, and Brent Sherman. Row 14, we got Shane Huffman in the Navy car and Mike Wallace in the 7th.
On row 15, Rogelio Lopez and John Wood, the 3rd-generation driver. Row 16, in a backup car, Dave Blaney, the VanFirst.com Ford Toyota, and Todd Kluver.
Row 17 on the inside, J.R. Fitzpatrick. On the outside, Kyle Krisloff. Row 18 on the inside, David Reagan. On the outside, Stanton Barrett.
Row 19, we got Curtis Davis and Todd Souza. Row 20, Brian Simo and Antonio Perez.
All right, and the final 3 starters in row 21, Brad Keselowski, the 23-year-old, John Young from the West Coast, and from Caracas, Venezuela, starting 43rd on the field, Alex Garcia in the number 98 car. Well, this is an 8-turn, 2.518-mile road course, and Rusty, take us through it.
All right, let's take a look as we come down the front straightaway into turn 1, 180 miles an hour, hard brake off of turn 1, off of turn 3, down the back straightaway, short shoot. Now, this is a turn leading up to turn 4 where a lot of passings are going to get done. We come through turn 4, off of turn 4, right there, the S's are just getting ready to start. Folks, there's going to be a lot of speed made through the S's here. We leave the S's off of turn 6 down the back straightaway into 7 and off of turn 8, and that's a lap at Mexico City.
All right, we told you we'd be riding along and speaking with Juan Pablo Montoya as our in-race reporter. Let's chat with Juan Pablo now.
Juan Pablo Montoya, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Yeah.
Juan Pablo, a lot of people are talking about turn 1, the problem getting down in that corner. Do you feel comfortable getting in there with the adjustments you made to your car?
The car should be really good today. You know, we've done a lot of work in it, and, you know, the team has done an awesome job all weekend. I'll tell you, it's an exciting race. My first road course in NASCAR. You know, it's good. You know, everything has gone really good. All the Ganassi cars are fast, so just happy to be here.
All right, Juan Pablo, you qualified yesterday. You were locking the right front wheel up. You made some adjustments for today. The track is much cooler. Do you feel comfortable with your changes?
Yeah, you know, the little lack of the shed on TV, it really didn't affect the car too much. You know, it was a little too tight for my taste, but, you know, in the long runs we did yesterday, and basically, on Friday, the car was awesome. So, you know, I think we got a really good race car underneath us, and we just got to look after it.
All right, Juan Pablo, thank you for talking to us.
All right, guys, we'll also be talking to his crew chief, Brad Parrott, who'll be along with our crew chief, Andy Petrie.
Hey, Brad Parrott, Andy Petrie up in the booth. You got a copy?
Sir, there, Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Brad, what kind of pit strategy are you going to use to try to win today?
Well, Andy, if I told you, everybody on pit road would know, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd get that.
Here, we got a great race car. This Texaco Havoline Telcel Dodge is pretty awesome. And, you know, I got the best driver in the world sitting in the seat. And, you know, he takes care of it for 80 laps, and we make the right calls in here. I'll let you know my strategy later.
Yeah, 10-4, you danced around that one pretty good. Your car was tight qualifying. Did you guys make any adjustments, or you plan to make any more adjustments?
I took it upon myself to drop the left side track bar a ½ inch, and that was the wrong thing to do for Juan's driving style. We raised it back up. You know, NASCAR lets us do that, and that baby's ready to rock and roll today.
10-4, Brad. Good luck to you guys.
All right, guys, Juan Pablo and crew ready to rock and roll. As they are set, there's a look at the Texaco Havoline crew. We'll be riding on board and hearing from Juan Pablo Montoya and his crew chief, Brad Parrott, throughout the afternoon. Well, let's get down to the final stories from pit road first. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, one guy that stands out here in Mexico City in more ways than one is 6'4" Boris Said. You know, he's a road race specialist. Last year he started on the pole only to lose that lead on pit road. We've been talking about it all day. He lost it to eventual race winner Denny Hamlin. Today, Boris Said starts 7th. He said if they can nail their pit stops, they can bring it home to victory lane. He's never won in the Busch Series, guys, and he's 44 years old. Mike?
A year ago, this race was Denny Hamlin's coming out party as he scored his first career Busch Series win. Today, he's among the favorites, rolling off 5th. This morning, I spoke with Hamlin, and he told me he has only one question in his mind: whether to be patient or go for it early. Hamlin said in some ways, his car today is better than it was a year ago, and he appears very confident he can repeat. Dave Burns.
Mike, Carl Edwards is a Nextel Cup regular going for the Busch Series Championship this year. He's second in points coming into this race. Kevin Harvick is not entered. Given that, I asked Carl this morning how he was going to approach lap 1, turn 1 at the very end of this long straightaway. He said without hesitating, with extreme caution. Today, before Carl ever thinks about winning, he's got to be very wary. Alan?
Dave, whenever you get into these NASCAR races on a road course, there's always a debate that goes on in the garage area and in the media. Who has the advantage? The drivers who run the series weekly and have experience with these cars and on these tires, but little road course background, or the road warriors, the guys who come from road racing series but don't have as much experience in these cars and on these tires. Today's pole sitter, Scott Pruitt, might be the best of both worlds. He ran nearly a full Nextel Cup season back in 2000, and he's got many laps of experience in these Nextel Cup and Busch Series machines in road course races. He starts on pole today, but told me earlier he knows that against a field this tough, he and his team are going to have to do everything right, every lap, all race long. Doc?
All right, thanks, guys. So many great stories coming from pit road today for so many different superstars from all across 6 different countries represented in the starting field. And Andy, as the cars come and parade by this great crowd here in Mexico City, what are the keys to today's race?
Well, Jerry, as they get one to go at the line, fuel mileage. We've been talking about this pit strategy. Getting fuel, get the best fuel mileage you can get is going to really open up a lot of options for you on your pit strategy. So these guys have really concentrated on making these cars go just as far as they can on a tank of fuel. You got to preserve your equipment. Road courses are so hard on equipment. I mean, brakes, transmissions, engines. We've already lost some engines in practice. All these guys changed out, put new brakes in and transmissions. So these guys got to take care of their car, and they got to stay on the course. If you get off that course, it's going to tear the car up. It's going to, you're obviously going to lose track position. So staying on the course is really critical.
All right, they got to stay on the course, and remember, we will be able to ride along with 7 different drivers with high definition onboard shots, and that's going to be awesome to be able to see these guys go right and left. And how about this camera atop the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya, but we also have some pretty cool cameras showing what's happening inside the car.
We got some really cool cameras. This is a great shot going into tournament, but look at his feet down there. And guys, look how narrow those shoes are. People ask me all the time, what about these driving shoes? These are specially prepared Oakley driving shoes that Juan's wearing. And look at the little piece on top of his foot. This is in case if the throttle hangs, he can put his toe up and pull that throttle back. Right on top of the shoe right there, folks. Now, we're going to see his feet dancing around all day long. This is going to be one great shot to watch.
We see him going back and forth on those pedals. He's trying to put heat in the brakes. You see him just put that foot on the brake, give it a little gas, heat up those rear tires, trying to get ready to race. He wants to be the first one into turn one.
All this footwork in the floorboard, it's like dancing with the cars, huh?
It really is, especially if you go down the front straightaway, Jerry, to 180 miles per hour and you hit that brake pedal, you have to have a solid, hard brake pedal like our Tim Brewer was talking about earlier. At 180, you really got to slow that car down because look at it. We're going to have 43 cats barreling off into turn one, all wanting to win this thing. And you know what, Dandy? These guys aren't too patient. They want to be stars right off the bat.
And these guys like Juan Montoya, they know how these early laps mean so much on a road course. They know that getting that early track position can mean everything to win the race.
Well, you talk about track position, and there are 7 different drivers who are now going to be forced to go to the back of the field because 6 of these drivers made engine changes. The ones that made engine changes, P.J. Jones, Michelle Jourdain, Scott Wimmer had an unapproved adjustment, and of course David Rudeman, Shane Huffman, David Reagan, and Curtis Davis all making engine changes, 6 engine changes and 1 unapproved adjustment. They go to the back of the pack. And Rusty, mentally, how does this affect a driver?
Well, mentally, what I would do right now, I would change this problem into a positive. You know, look for guys to pit around 5 or 6 laps in the race to get in their window. Andy was talking earlier all about strategy. Folks, if you see them come down pit road that early, hey, there's nothing wrong with them. They're trying to get in there so they can make that fuel mileage and get to lap 40, 42 so they can make it to the end. Because here's the goal. The goal is at the end of the race to get your driver up front of that pack through strategy, through your pit stops, fuel mileage, things like that. Jerry, let me tell you what, though. You could cut the tension with a knife. You couldn't cut it with a knife, I meant. These guys are amped up. They're fired up. I've never seen so many people at a racetrack in my life. This is going to be an unbelievable race. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of debris out there, too. A lot of guys sliding off the tracks. These cats are going to have to be careful.
A lot of concern about coming down the front straightaway for the very first time. All these great international road racing stars at 180 miles an hour, barreling into turn one, jamming on those brakes, trying to turn right. Will they get through? That is a major trouble spot for concern. Turn one, lap one. Here they come. Pace car pulls away. For the 3rd consecutive year, the NASCAR Busch Series comes to you live, flag to flag, from Mexico City. Sit back and enjoy. They made it through the first time, and there would be a lot of people in the garage area who would have bet against that. But Juan Pablo Montoya is on a mission. He's already in the 2nd spot.
You can tell right now that Scott Pruitt and Juan Pablo Montoya, they had a plan. Hey, let's not try to race each other in this first turn. Let's get single file and get through there. Carlos Contreras, they talked also. I believe these 3 were cooking up a deal before this race started. Now, back in the pack, you saw them go 3 wide into turn 1, but here's the key. They went through there slowly, not like they're going to go through later in the race.
These cars now dancing through the S's, come out of turn 6 and will head down the back straightaway.
Turn 6, this is the area where they're getting a lot of speed built up going into turn 7 now. This is a really tough spot. This is where Greg Biffle went off and crashed. You see Montoya starting to road through it in.
Yeah, he's feeling that turn out there. These 2 cars are set up quite differently. I've talked to these guys on these crews, and these 2 cars got real different setups. So you look for these cars to be strong in one car to be strong in one corner, the other one to be strong in another.
All right, let's watch Juan Pablo Montoya. 179 miles an hour. He's going to jam on the brakes and gear down as he heads into turn 1.
Now, like Andy talked about earlier, these setups are completely different. Now, you already see something here with P.J. Jones. Now, I wouldn't be coming in this early, would you?
Well, I talked to Screw Chief this morning. He said, don't be surprised if I'm in on the first lap. So here he is.
Dave Burns, what's going on?
Jerry, they planned this when they had to go to the rear because of their motor change. They said, let's come in and get some insurance fuel. We could probably make it on one stop, but this is our insurance. We'd hate to run out on lap 79.
Yeah, I think these guys have already shown that this is the first car in. They're showing everybody that they're getting probably the best mileage on the track, so they're going to take advantage of it and make this. That's their first of 2 stops they're going to make in this race.
But Andy, that's all for early. You know, we're talking about guys maybe coming here 5 or 6 laps in the race to get in the window. It looks like P.J. Jones is going to try to make it on 1 stop.
Well, one thing you get when you make this early pit stop, he was starting in the back, so he was going to have all this traffic to fight. This way, he makes that pit stop early. He's got a clear racetrack to run in. He can make good time, and he's getting good fuel mileage. If he didn't get that kind of mileage, he couldn't do this.
All right, action back in the track, and here is Steve Wallace, the 19-year-old, trying to stay in front of the 35 car, Bobby Hamilton Jr. As you watch Steve coming toward you, he got a lot of off-road racing experience and teaching during the offseason from Boris Said.
Yeah, Boris Said stayed with Steve, and they went to Virginia International Raceway twice, on the road to Atlanta, then on out to the coveted Bob Bondurant driving school. So, hey, a lot of these guys are doing this, but this is a tough race. Steven spent a lot of time with Boris, and we all know that Boris is one of the best. Let's just hope the kids listen good.
He had a top 10 speed in practice. He overdrove it a little bit in qualifying. I wonder where he got that aggressiveness from. I wonder who that had to be from Mom, right?
I'll tell you what, his mom is definitely the smartest one of the bunch, that's for sure.
All right, back up front, the 2 Ganassi Felix Sabates owned cars are running 1-2. That is Scott Pruitt flashing by, Juan Pablo Montoya, Carlos Contreras. There's a 1-2. And let's look at speeds and numbers here off the 41 car of Scott Pruitt.
We see Juan Montoya not letting him get very far away there. Juan Pablo Montoya. He's just shadowing that 41.
You know, Juan Pablo said in the essence, he wants to stay off the ripple strips. He wants to keep his car smooth. Now, you take a look at Scott Pruitt. He's really using ripple strips. He gets that car up in the air. Andy, you talked earlier. These guys are teammates, but the setups we're hearing are totally different from one car to another. Why would that be that way?
Okay, the reason they're doing that Scott Pruitt likes to hit these curves. He likes to use more of the curve than does Juan Pablo. And so he has to run a really soft setup to be able to bounce up on those curves and it not upset the car. Juan Pablo Montoya, on the other hand, he stays off the curves, and he wants his car set up fairly stiff. It makes his car more crisp through these rights and lefts.
Juan Pablo Montoya, not known for patience, so he is set behind his teammate now for 3 laps. You got to wonder how long he's going to sit there. Will he make his first move in turn 1 this time by? He's on the inside. Whoa, as they touch in turn 1, and Juan Pablo Montoya, as they bang off each other, makes the pass.
Man, I tell you what, that was an unbelievable pass because, you know, Pruitt saw it coming, and Pablo Montoya, he stuck that left front fender right alongside his teammate, Scott Pruitt, and you saw Pruitt just at the last minute just did a little dodge away from him, and they both made it clean. Now, one thing you don't want is have 2 teammates take each other out.
Let's show you again. We didn't think Juan Pablo would last for long behind him. He makes the move on lap 3 in turn 1.
Perfect move getting into turn 1, 180 miles an hour, hard under brakes. Look at that, up under curve, he gave a little extra room. Scott did a fantastic job letting him through way too early in the race to have a problem right now.
The one thing I saw Juan Pablo Montoya doing in these early laps was to get his brake heat up. He was planning that move. He was trying to get his brakes heated up and plan that thing out when his brakes were just the best they were going to be, and he made a dive bomb in turn 1.
Our 31-year-old former Formula One international superstar, Juan Pablo Montoya, he decides it's my turn to lead. And here he comes down toward turn 1, makes the hard right-hand turn, and takes the lead over teammate Scott Pruitt. Back with more from Mexico City in a moment. NASCAR again enjoying the colorful culture that is Mexico City and the wonderful fans here. Some of the pre-race rituals, the blessing of the cars with holy water. The drivers all are thumbs up. But then lap 3, Juan Pablo Montoya brought these fans to their feet with that daring pass in turn 1.
Tell you what, he didn't waste any time whatsoever. I was really concerned that he was going to get in the side of the 41 of car Scott Pruitt, but Pruitt caught it right at the very end, and you can see that Juan Pablo Montoya went to the right-hand side, used that curve. Tell you what, now These guys have found their rhythm right now. I'm expecting pit stops anytime right now in order to get in their window.
Yeah, they're going to just get all they can get out of this set of tires. They're going to run them just as hard as they can for about 3 or 4 laps, make as much time on the racetrack as they can, and they're going to be pitting here pretty quick.
Andy, do the math for me. It's an 80-lap race. If they pit on lap 7, 8, or 9, and they can go, what, 35 laps, why are they coming in so early?
Well, let me try to explain this. If these guys make a pit stop, and when they make a pit stop, they can get back out and not lose a lap. Okay, if the guys that stay out on the racetrack get a caution, then they pit under caution. The guys that stayed on the track move by them, and they get the track position because of that. So it's really kind of complicated, but that's why they want to get on pit road real early.
So they would pit now lap 7 or 8 as you see a couple of cars off in the grassy area, and then come back in for their final stop somewhere around the halfway point or just a little beyond.
Yeah, some of the guys will gamble that they're going to get a lot of caution laps at the end of the race. So even if they can only go 35 laps, 34, 35 laps, they might pit with 38, 39 laps to go and gamble on getting those cautions to extend the range of their fuel tank.
All right, the 41 car riding about 2 car lengths back in second place. Let's check in his pits with Al.
Yeah, just adding on that discussion you guys were having about strategy. And Andy, as you know, as your days as a crew chief, it gets more complicated when you're running up front and winning the race. The guys in the back, like we saw P.J. Jones do earlier, they can gamble. But Brian Patty, Scott Pruitt's crew chief, he really can't take a gamble on stretching his fuel mileage and throwing away a possible win when you've got a car that's capable of running up front. So you may see this 41 car pit as late as lap 10 to lap 15 in this opening stretch of the race if there's no full course caution, because they can't take a chance on running out later in the day. Jamie?
Well, guys, Boris said that started 7th. He's worked his way up to 4th now. Little problem in the cockpit. The shift knob has fallen off. He's shifting now without that knob. They're expected to come in 1 to 2 laps where the crew will have to go inside the car and screw that knob back on for the optimum shifting potential, guys. That's important there, right, Rusty?
Tell you what, man, to shift that car without a knob, it's going to grind the bottom of your palm up. You're going to be bleeding like crazy. And Bord is just roughing it out right now, probably shifting with the side of his hand. They got to get a knob back on that shifter if he's going to be successful out there and keep his rhythm.
Andy Petrie, Brad Daugherty down here. I've got a question for you.
Okay, Brad.
As the race goes on and they're slinging these race cars around, the chassis become a little bit looser. Will they go to track bar or will they go to air pressure? What will they do on this first pit stop to tighten their race cars back up?
Well, if they're loose, Brad, what they'll probably do is if they're real loose, will go to that track bar. They'll spend just an extra little second there to turn that track bar, but if it's just a little bit, they'll go with air pressure and get him in and out of there.
Guys, Boris said, one car spinning around is the 0 car of J.R. Fitzpatrick. He is the youngest driver in the field. Young Canadian, 18 years of age, just slipped off the track. In the 0 machine, some damage on the right front of his Chevy Monte Carlo. Here's one of the early pit stops. It is Adrian Fernandez in the Lowe's Chevrolet as he heads to you, Mike Massaro.
And just a slight push. That was what Adrian Fernandez is feeling, but he's feeling it in both sets of corners, lefts and rights. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment. Crew Chief Chad Walter told me before the race today that the one thing he wants to make sure is that Adrian Fernandez gets out in clean air. He does not want to put him in a position where he has to block all day long. Because of that, they may pit out of sequence throughout the course of the day. That's something to pay attention to. A 4-tire change now for Fernandez as the car sits here on pit road. Just a slight air pressure adjustment, as I mentioned, and they're away.
Ready, go. First gear 4100, first gear 4150.
They're telling Adrian because the pit speed is 35 miles per hour, he must watch the tachometer, 4,100 RPMs. There are no speedometers on these cars, of course. As he rejoins the action, here come the leaders.
Tell you, a lot of strategy going on right now. While we were covering the 5 car of Adrian Fernandez, Gillian came down pit road. He made a stop also. We've been seeing guys coming down right now. It's going to be sporadic. A lot of things are going to happen.
Next time by for 4 tires, a half a pound in the left rear tire to help you on your right hand.
All right, that's Juan Pablo Montoya's crew chief. And the 9 car of Boris Said on pit road, Jamie Little.
Dockey's making his way down 35 miles per hour. They're not sure at this point if they're going to try to repair that shifter knob. Boris looked down and said, I don't see if we can fix it right now. Just go with it. 4 tires, full fuel. Boris said came in 4th position. They're going to opt not to fix that cable or that shifter knob, guys. He's going to go with it. Dave?
Jamie, Steve Wallace is in. Car loose everywhere. They're going to increased the air pressure in both front tires to try to fix that. 4 tire change for Steve, full of fuel, and he is gone.
Steve Wallows headed down pit road. We're expecting our leaders to be coming back. Air pressure going up. He said the car's all over the track.
Yeah, he's got a real soft spring set up in the front of the car. A lot of sway bar in it. They talked this morning. So if we're loose, let's prop up the front air pressure so when we turn left and right, makes the car tighter. We're taking a look at the 42 car here, Juan Pablo Montoya. Looks like around lap 10 is when everything's starting to happen here, guys.
And one of the big concerns, Andy, one of the big concerns is not speeding on pit road. They remind these drivers who have not been running a lot of NASCAR races over the years, only Montoya's 5th start, as he comes down 35 miles an hour, headed down to Brad Parrott.
Jerry, that's really key. What you said, pit road speed now, these guys aren't really used to this. You got to be really careful coming down. Jamie?
Well, Rusty, Juan Pablo Montoya is saying the car is tight. It's tighter in the right-hand turn. They're expected to make an air pressure on that left rear. 4 tires and full fuel, guys. They're trying. They're going to hang on and see if they can bring her home for their first NASCAR Busch Series victory.
And the second place runner, Scott Pruitt, is going to follow his Ganassi Racing teammate in. Pruitt pitted in the first stall all the way at pit exit. They're going to go for a 4 tire change here. Looks like there was some debate over whether or not to add or remove tape from the grill. Right now they're just going to clean the debris off it with the big extender brush that you see and look to see if they can gain Scott some of the ground back. He lost to Montoya on the racetrack earlier. Ron Fellows is pitted in behind, as are several other cars.
All right, pit stops continuing here in the first 10 laps because of the fuel strategy. There is our pole sitter, Scott Pruitt, headed back onto pit road. After they cleaned the grill, added 4 new Goodyears. And here is the 47 car of John Wood, the 3rd generation driver, getting service from his crew. Meanwhile, this guy, the 22 of Carlos Contreras. He is a Mexico City native, and he's pointing that he's going to come to pit road. He signals out Rusty to let the other drivers know he's slowing down.
That's exactly what to do. That's the right thing to do. You know, you don't want to drive these guys side by side into turn 8 right now. This is just a single lane exit. Okay, they're getting ready to come down pit road now. Let's watch this.
Half a pound of both
Oh, I'll tell you what, Jerry. Maybe he just singled him by. Maybe he just singled him by because he's getting ready to pick the next lap because he just blew past pit road just then. Blew past the pit entrance.
All right, what he did was he waved the car of Denny Hamlin by. That is the Joe Gibbs car right in front of Carlos Contreras. Denny Hamlin, who won this race a year ago, led 40 laps from the outside front row spot. So Hamlin is the leader. In second place is Carlos Contreras. Jorge Getters is 3rd. Carl Edwards 4th. And Herman Quiroga is 5th. Back with more live coverage in a moment.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide.
We welcome you back to the Telcel Motorola Mexico 200, coming to you live from Mexico City, Mexico. Jorge Getters, a 36-year-old Mexico City native, in the Scotiabank Chevrolet. The Bruco machine is being shown as our leader. And moments ago, the 20 car, the Rockwell Automation machine for Denny Hamlin. Last year's winner was on pit road for an update on his stop. Here's Mike Massaro.
Right, Doc, he was on pit road, but he was on pit road a lap later than he anticipated and his team anticipated. Hamlin missed the entrance of pit road because there was a car in his way, just could not get down onto the entrance road, so he had to go all the way around one more time. That will certainly disrupt their strategy. Meanwhile, he was looking for a little bit more bite. They made a round down on the track bar and made a slight adjustment there to help get him a little bit more forward bite throughout the course of the day.
You know, I tell you what Jerry watched a little while ago, that Carlos Contreras let Denny Hamlin in front of him. Denny got in front of him, but what happened then is Carlos was right up on the tail of his car, and he couldn't slow down enough to make pit road, so he missed pit road.
And it looked like Carlos Contreras was going to follow him down pit road possibly, and then he just followed him back out on the track.
But I don't think it hurt him whatsoever. He just had to run another lap, and that was about it.
No, it actually will help their pit strategy. Since they didn't get a caution during that cycle, and they got an extra lap on the racetrack, it gives them 1 extra lap of insurance on this fuel load.
All right, the 37 car, that is former series champion Greg Biffle.
Come on down, baby. 4,200 all the way. Wheels straight, foot on the brake. We'll get your tape off.
He's headed down pit road to get his first pit stop of the afternoon as Newt Moore and company ready to service that Bruco machine.
I heard him say they were going to take some tape off. That's the brakes. They're taking tape off the brakes. Must be complaining about the brake pedal fading a little bit. They'll take that tape off, cool the brakes down, and that'll get him going a little better.
As you watch the leader on the left side of your screen, the 27 car of Jorge Getters. Let's check back in the Biffle pits.
Well, 4-tire change for Greg Biffle. He's away. Big concern coming into this race for that team. Newt Moore a little bit frustrated with the fact that the backup car, which they're in right now, not completely where they wanted it to be when they were forced to go to it. They had to work on that car for 5 hours on Saturday morning just to get it on the racetrack for qualifying. They weren't sure exactly what they had, but still a little bit of a mystery to that team here today.
Let's check in our pit studio with Brad Doherty.
Rusty Wallace, I've got a question. I heard Juan Pablo Montoya talk about his race car being tight, and when you're on an oval, obviously, and you're turning left and it washes up the racetrack, you know it's tight. But on this road course, would the race car be tight going right and left as opposed to just going one direction?
Yeah, if he's talking about being tight, Brad, it's probably mostly in one direction. Now, if Juan Pablo talked to his crew chief, Brad Parrott, and said, hey, look, I'm loose to my right hand, I'm tight to my right-handers, or I'm tight to my left-handers, they're going to make different adjustments. Although, the best adjustment to make, to not lose any time, is lowering the air pressures in the front. That's probably what they did to get more front grip.
Leaders on pit road, here's Alan.
It is Jorge Getters, the 36-year-old from Mexico City, driving for Bruco Racing. Going to be a 4-tire change. Also going to make an adjustment on the left rear corner of the car. His car, like Rusty was talking about, a little tight, meaning lacking front-end grip through the slow corners of the racetrack. They're going to make that adjustment and try and get Getters back out onto the speedway. Interesting thing about this car, they have 3 spotters on the car. Slow stop here. Bad trouble on the rear. They've got 3 spotters on the car, 1 Spanish-speaking, 2 English-speaking. Jorge speaks some English, but it's not as fluid as they would like.
All right.
Scott Wimmer, it is a right front flat that's down, guys. He had to bring the car in now. And so they're going to change all 4 tires and help Scott out with that situation. You guys talked about an unapproved change in that car this morning. It was actually a fuel pump. Other Childress motors had trouble this weekend. For these guys, they started the motor up this morning. Fuel was spilling out of the car. It was a fuel pump that had failed, and that sent them to the rear of the field for the start. And now more problems for Scott Wimmer.
Okay, here's what happened to Scott Wimmer in that Chevy a moment ago, the Richard Childress-owned car. And watch the right front.
It looks like he's got a little damage from some contact, maybe running off the racetrack, and it cut that tire. You got that real sharp edge on that fender that just cut the rubber of that tire, let all the air out of it. He's pretty lucky to be able to get to pit road without tearing the car up any more than he did.
I tell you what I think probably happened, Andy. He must have hit one of the inside strips on the racetrack and bent the fender in against the tire. Because our animation, our rollback just showed us that. It must have happened earlier because that fender was already knocked in when we saw it.
All right, Alan in Carl Edwards' pit.
Talked about earlier, Jerry, how Carl was one of the drivers racing for the championship. So his crew chief, Pierre Cattell, left him out on the track until he led a lap. In NASCAR racing, that gets you 5 bonus points towards the title. Carl has collected those bonus points. Now they make their 4-tire change and send him back out.
All right, Andy, you're the crew chief, and you decide to play it safe with Carl Edwards because he wants to win this Busch Series title.
Yeah, I was down in the garage talking to Pierre Cattell, his crew chief. We call him PK. I was talking to him about this strategy, about running for the championship and playing it safe and not gambling. He said, well, really, you know, it's early in the season. We can afford to gamble a little bit. And he said, I'm probably going to gamble. But it looks like he's going to wait till later in the race, maybe on that last pit stop, to see just how much he can gamble. He'll get a good read on this fuel, and he'll know just how much he can. And I expect him to be one of those guys that will gamble at the end of the race.
All right, here's our new leader. It is the Chevy Monte Carlo. That is the 28 car owned by Jay Robinson and Troy Stafford. And it is Herman Quiroga Jr., one of the 8 Mexico City drivers in the field. And this young man is a phenomenal road racer. Just got this ride just a couple of days before they opened up the track here.
Yeah, Jerry, we see a lot of drivers we never heard of in the U.S. out here running so well. They're Mexican drivers that are fantastic behind the wheel. We've seen a lot of them just jump right in these cars without much practice whatsoever and immediately come right up to speed. And Herman was one of them. I tell you what, this guy, the 28 car, he's been solid all week long.
Watch his telemetry over here. You see the RPMs. He just feathers the throttle through the turns.
You're in second gear most of the time. Right now they're in second gear. They'll shift to third gear right now, but a lot of this racetrack is running second gear through the S's. Now this turn right here, turn 4 that he's going to right now, this is a great place to make a pass. See him set one up on the 77 car? Let's see what happens. Now, here's what happens. If you don't get it done right there, you're stuck in the S's, and it's pretty well single file through here. But as you can see, he's trying to set them up in different areas to try to get this pass done. Pretty aggressive. Oh, he made it. That's one of the passes we've seen all day long in the S's. So, you know, a pretty big difference between the speeds right now of Curtis Davis and of the 28 car of Germán Quiroga.
Germán Quiroga is our leader. Bobby Hamilton Jr. being shown in second spot. He just went by the Curtis Davis car, number 77. There's Quiroga.
Man, I tell you what, you say Germán Quiroga 10 times, that's a tongue tire, man. I've been practicing that one all day long, and I'm still messing that one up, Andy.
Yeah, I'm glad you took that one instead of me.
You saw his yellow bumper a moment ago. Yes, he is a rookie in the NASCAR Busch Series, but he is sailing down the front straightaway at 170 miles an hour, living a dream. He is leading a NASCAR race here in his home country. Mexico City native Quiroga, our leader.
Now let's get up to date on where we are so far. A NASCAR.com reset from our studio, which is right along the super straightaway. Very loud at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. In the early going, 7 different leaders. Right now, Germán Quiroga, a Mexican, has been racing at this track since he was 15 years old. Back in '95, has the lead, but the story really has been Juan Pablo Montoya. Quiroga Jr. has not paid yet. Montoya has a lead over Scott Pruitt of about 11 seconds. So the Colombian, with a huge fan base here, performing very well. Lap 20 of 80. Back to Jerry in the booth.
All right, thank you, Chris. Juan Pablo Montoya running full-time in the NASCAR Busch Series, making only his 7th career start, his 3rd start this year. Running full-time in the 42 car, will also run in the Nextel Cup Series. But the first time that he has ever been able to drive a NASCAR Busch Series car on a road course, and the expectations were huge within that team. And talking about excitement and expectations, how about Germán Quiroga Jr.? As you heard Chris say, he is our 7th different leader. We have had 6 lead changes. This young man has got to be thinking about pit stops.
Well, he can run about 15 more laps on this fuel run. But what he is right now, he's hung out to dry. If the caution comes out right now, there's 34 cars on the lead lap. If he got a caution, he'd come on pit road. Nobody else would. He would come out behind every single one of them, and he'd be about 35th. So this is really, while it looks good, he's got, you know, up front might be his strategy to go out here and try to lead as much as he can to this race. It could actually hurt him for the finish.
Well, right now, it looks like most all the pit stops are complete, and everything's settling down just a little bit. A lot of guys in the back of the pack are really getting going, and Germán, as you see, he's just logging laps right now to go to the end of his fuel window. We all got here this morning, Andy, and the skies were really, really overcast. It was real cool, and right now it's turned out to be a really sunny day.
Let's find out what they're thinking about in the leaders' pits. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Germán Quiroga right now loving being out front. The team, they're excited. Exactly what you were saying, Rusty. This is their strategy. Lead as much as they can. They're planning on coming in about 4 laps, about lap 25. Everything is perfect on the car. They're just going to take 4 tires and fuel. So we're seeing some different strategy. But right now, there's a lot of fans rooting for this young man in the lead.
Jamie, Todd Cleaver is in right now. He's going to change 4 tires. His car was difficult to turn. They made a chassis and air pressure adjustment to try to help Todd. Gave up 4th position, and he was one of the Roush cars that went conservative this weekend. Roush had some motor problems. This car ran a higher gear all weekend trying to conserve, and Todd said, we think we can make it all the way. I'd like to finish a road course race. I haven't done that yet.
All right, Todd Cleaver coming on. He was running in the top 5, as you heard, and as you heard our pit crew, our pit chief analyst and expert, Andy Petrie, tell you that this guy, Germán Quiroga, can run probably up until around lap 36, 37, and then he'll have to make a pit stop. So, but when he does, he will be, what do you call it, Rusty?
In the back of the pack, tailback. I had to explain what tailback was yesterday. Our producers saying, Rusty, explain a little bit more. I said, okay. It's tailback. To me, tailback is all the way back. But you know what? It was kind of funny. I'm still learning, Jared.
Well, to me, tailback's the guy that lines up behind the fullback, but that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, this guy's going to make it a few more laps, and when he does pit, Andy Petrie, the guys that are going to be up front are this guy right here and his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car, who made that daring pass on lap number 3 to take the lead away from his teammate Scott Pruitt.
whatever they did on that last pit stop has really improved Juan Pablo Montoya's car, because he's kind of driven away from Scott Pruitt. We see he's about 10 seconds or so from the leader, but when he pits, he'll inherit the lead, and that'll give him a fair advantage over Scott Pruitt, his teammate.
You know, that car's tough to look at, Jerry. I look at that thing, you know what I call it? Half and half. We're all used to seeing Haviland all the time in this car. Now it says Telcel on the back of it, a black front and a wide back. Hey, look at the feet, man. I'm loving this part. Okay, watch this now. Wide open throttle, off the throttle, on the brake. You can see right now with these new transmissions, really, they don't have to heel the toe, meaning they don't have to come off the brake and push the clutch in. The pedal on the extreme left, folks, is the clutch pedal, and he doesn't touch that at all. And so what he's doing right now, he's on the brake, real hard, on the gas, and this is really tight quarters down here. As you can see, we talked about earlier about the shoes, how tight it is.
You know, he never moves his foot off the
Another
clutch.
20 laps before we pit, so take care of your tires. You got a 12-second lead, 29.03 to 29.60 behind you on Pruitt.
All right, Brad Parrott talking to his driver. That's the crew chief. Rusty, he never takes that left foot. It seems to rest it on the clutch.
Yeah, he does rest on clutch. We'll get Andy to illustrate the clutch pedal over here and show you the pedal. He's not even using it at all. He's only using that to get out of the garage area and out of the pit area after pit stops. It's just 2-foot driving. And I like what he's doing, because some guys are a right foot driver only. Juan is using both feet, and I think that's obviously the proper way to do it. And hey, he's arguably, probably not arguably, he's one of the best out there. He's doing it the right way.
Here's the 98 car of Alex Garcia, the Venezuelan driver, has spun out, and we will go to a full course yellow. A full course yellow for the first time this afternoon. As you take a look at Kevin Moss, our NASCAR Busch Series flagman, waving the yellow for the first time here on lap 23. Well, they will tighten up the field behind the pace car and then decide what they're going to do in terms of pit strategy. We'll lay it all out for you when we come back. Remember, you won't miss a thing. We have full circle coverage on all our networks at ESPN. Back in just a moment.
We got some damage.
Back in Mexico City, Mexico, we are under yellow for the first time this afternoon, coming out on lap 23 due to a spin by the car number 98, the Alex Garcia machine. Watch the contact here, the 41 car that is Pruitt, our pole sitter. And they slam door to door as Garcia spins off. And the left front, there's the left front of Scott Pruitt's Dodge.
And this leaves them with a little bit of a decision to make, because they don't want to pit right now. They want to keep this car on the racetrack, keep that track position, but they've got to look at this damage. They may have to come back and look at it. Doesn't look like they're too concerned about it right now.
Andy, I'd say it looks like the left front fender's got a really good shape to it still. I mean, I don't believe I'd be coming down pit road. The bottom of the air dam is still out good. He's got a caved-in door. That's really not going to slow this car down any, do you think? I wouldn't think it would.
Maybe not, but it still makes on a normal condition, you'd want to come and look at that, but at a road course, it just kills you to come down pit road.
Now, the thing to look at, I guess, if the top of the fender is knocked in, if he gets in a hard right-hand turn where the fender could come down on it, we're making pit stops now. Let's see what happens here, guys.
All right, Herman Quiroga coming down there is Carlos Contreras and others. Here is Quiroga in the pits, and Jamie Little is there.
Well, guys, he's sticking right with strategy. He led as many laps as he could. He's coming in. They're going to do 4 tires, and full fuel was the strategy. Quiroga right now, guys, trying to make an impact, wants to come to the States and maybe race in the Busch Series there. In the meantime, he wants to compete here in the NASCAR Mexico Series.
As you watch the work continuing on Carlos Contreras' car, Alan.
Carlos had lost some of his track position. Remember, he started on the outside of the front row, fell back in the opening couple of laps, and lost a little more ground on their pit stop. So they really don't have anything to lose here as far as track position. They're going to come in, take 4 tires, fill it up with fuel, and see where the cautions and the pit strategy unfold later on in the race. They've got a tire that's gotten away, sending a crew member to go chase after it.
Don't go.
Telling Carlos to stay in his pit box until they get that tire back on the inside half of the box before they let him go in order to avoid a NASCAR penalty.
Go.
And here's a look at the race off pit road. Scott Wimmer driving for Richard Childress, gained a couple of spots. Curtis Davis driving for Kevin Harvick. Kyle Krisiloff, the young rookie driver, lost a spot. And how about the 16 car up 13 spots? And that's for the Roush crew that's made that pit stop there. And guys, the leaders opting to stay out, and Andy, you nailed it at the top of the show. It has to do with making the right call on pit strategy and when you're going to pit.
And it looks like the 14 car is going to get the lucky dog pass here, free pass.
Our Aaron's lucky dog free pass goes to Kyle Krisilov, who did a lot of road racing in his early years in go-karts. Now is doing a heck of a job trying to keep that Clamor Girl Ford in the top 20.
He's going to have to race pretty hard to make it all the way back around to the tail end. 2.5 mile racetrack on all these twisty turns. It'll take him just about all the time back to the green flag to get there.
Well, I tell you what, when you get the lucky dog on a road course like this, I mean, once they wave you by, man, you got to go like a madman to get all the way around the track and get caught up. It looks like the 41 car is going to stay out, Andy. It looks like they've chose, hey, there's not enough damage to bring this thing down pit road. Got Montoya leading the race. You know, Juan has really did a good job. That's their pit strategy. Herman Quiroga is pitted. He's in the back. And by the way, it looks like he had a slow pit stop, too. You've really seen a lot of disparity, Andy, and Jeremy, through these pit crews. I've had our cameras on them, and a lot of them slower than others, and some of them real fast all over the place.
All right, let's talk to the crew chief for Juan Pablo Montoya, Brad Parrott.
Hey, Brad Parrott, this is Andy Petrie up in the booth. You got a copy? Hey, Brad Parrott, this is Andy Petrie. Got a copy?
Yes, sir, bud. I got you here.
Hey, Brad, the car looks really good out there. Did you guys change it any there on that last pit stop? And if you did, what'd you change?
Put a half a pound in the left rear, and now he's just staying a little bit loose. You know, I went with the 42 Cup car style, a little bit of air pressure and everything. So we're getting ready to go back green, and I'm going to call him green here. So Texaco Havoline team's doing a great job, and what a driver. What y'all think about that one?
Well, he is something else. I guess you got a bigger name on the other line. Got to go. Good luck.
All right, he said, I got to call the start. So what the crew chief does, sitting on that box, he is watching that flagman and listening to NASCAR tell the flagman to wave the green flag. And as soon as he does, he cues that radio, and he will yell green, green, green. As they come out of turn 8, let's check in once quickly here with the 41 crew. Alan?
Yeah, Doc, talked to Brian Patty, Scott Pruitt's crew chief. They looked at the damage through the pictures we were sending back to everyone else, said it's not a big deal. It will not affect the handling of the car. They're very comfortable with it. They actually hope it might even help them as they go on.
Get ready. Get ready. Green, green, green. He's going to get black flag.
And Kevin Moss has waved the green flag, and they come sailing down this front straightaway after the first yell of the day. Juan Pablo Montoya, and Scott Pruitt has pulled it within a car length and a half of him entering turn 1. Well, up on the ripple strips, as Boris said, in the 9 car. There's contact coming out of turn 3, and Said takes the 3rd spot away. The 20 car is Denny Hamlin. The 60 of Carl Edwards. They're in 4th and 5th.
Jerry, these restarts are crazy right now. The tires got a lot of debris on them. The guys are sliding all over the spot. They're all trying to find a position right now and settle all in. But this first 3 or 4 corners, it's mayhem out there. I mean, these guys get all over the place.
It's so hard to pass on a road course that these guys take every shot they can on a restart. Try to get one more spot.
Juan Pablo Montoya, then Scott Pruitt. Remember, on lap 3 that the 9 car of Boris said his shifter knob came off. He's out there trying to shift with just a bare rod in his hand, and that's going to wear a sizable blister in his palm, but he is not backing off one iota.
He's making it work for him. Him and Denny Hamlin had a really good battle getting into turn 1. It looks like Boris just fought really hard on the outside when they went into turn 1, and that gave him the inside on that left-hander. Scott Pruitt's car looks really good here, even after the damage. He's able to keep pace with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Well, they get 2 of the best right there. They finally got themselves back together now.
Nice and smooth. Easy on your brakes. If you want to do some brake adjustment, you can.
All right, here's the battle back for 3rd position. Boris said in the 9 car, the Evernham Dodge. The 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Said had made the pass on the restart. That is 3rd, 4th. Left side of your screen, the 60 car. That is the driver who will become the series points leader by virtue of being 2nd in points, and Kevin Harvick, the leader, not coming here today. With more on the 20 car, Denny Hamlin, let's check in the pits with Mike.
Well, Doc, I spoke with Denny Hamlin this morning, and he told me that he had to find a line where he'd be patient or whether he should go for it. Didn't know exactly when that would be. He knew he had a great race car, but he was preaching patience to himself. But he said his car was so good that it's so tempting for him to get on the gas and be aggressive. It looks to me like right now, it's time to go. Alan?
The Carl Edwards strategy for the day today, simple. See that black thing in the middle of the screen? Keep the car on it. Keep the car on the pavement, run a clean race, call their own race, their own pit strategy, as he nips the dirt there, and not let anyone else dictate what they do. He feels like if he drives a clean and a conservative race today, he'll get a good finish. Carl has almost no road course experience until he came to the top levels of NASCAR. So he doesn't have as much as some of these drivers he's trying to race. He doesn't feel like maybe he can get up there and run with a Montoya for the win, but he knows where the championship is concerned, a clean race today will be a good race for him.
Guys, give a call to the driver of the 59. That is Australian ace Marcus Ambrose. And Ambrose, he's a world-renowned road racer in Australia, actually from Tasmania, which is a little island below Australia. And he was given the nickname Kangaroo Meat by Kevin Harvick in one of the ESPN commercials. And now he says, I'm pretty proud of that. Everyone calls me Kangaroo Meat. He said, but this is my kind of racetrack. Only his third ever NASCAR Busch Series start. And he is showing why he has been such an accomplished road racer down in Australia.
See, Denny Hamlin looked like he locked that right front wheel up getting into that turn. That can be a problem for these guys. When they do that, it'll flat spot the bottom of that tire and start vibrating, and it can really cause them some handling problems. So crew chief sees that, probably saw it on our telecast right here. He's going to tell his driver to be easy with that right front tire and be easy on those brakes.
Yeah, that first couple laps of the restart, man, it's crazy. They dive down in there trying to get past each other. They're bumping fenders, tearing fenders up and sliding all over. And plus, they're hard on their brakes, too, because they're trying to get as much done as they possibly can early in that event.
I'm pretty impressed with how good this 20 car is. He was able to pass Boris Said, and he's one of the hardest guys on the racetrack to get around. He's got by him, and now he's starting to look like he's making a little headway on the leader.
And there's a look at Stephen Wallace, 19-year-old in the Home Life Communities Dodge, as he makes his way back toward the top 10. Has some right front damage on that Dodge.
You see, it looks like he on a restart. I saw Greg Biffle and him go into turn one awful hard side by side, and they might have got together. Now, he's got a good air dam on the front of that thing, Andy. I don't know if the right front corner is going to cause much problem or not for downforce, but you definitely got to have the downforce.
It may not cause any problem for him, but I see that thing sticking out right there. If he'd happen to get up beside somebody else, it'd cut their tire down pretty easy.
All right, let's check into Steve Wallace pits with Dave Burns.
Yeah, Andy, have you ever seen the movie Ben-Hur? Yeah, that could happen if Steve gets into the side of somebody else. Right now, not complaining about the effect of the handling on that from that damage. They did debate coming in during that last round of pit stops. They said if everyone behind you lines up like they're going to pit, go ahead and do it. But since they didn't, Steve stayed out for right now.
All right, we are being told that indeed the car in front of Steve Wallace, the 37 car of Greg Biffle, does have some damage. As you see that car going by, Greg Biffle, the 2002 Series champion, driving a backup car in the Yardman Ford for Bruco Motorsports. Just behind the left front, over in the left front of the car.
Yeah, this is Greg's first time being here at this racetrack. He crashed his primary car. If you look on the back of his car, he's got a yellow stripe. His whole back bumper's yellow, but they got it outlined right there. That means he's a rookie at this racetrack. Even though he is a Busch Grand National Series champion, they still put a rookie stripe on his back bumper because this is his first trip.
Well, I'll tell you what, those two, Steven and Greg Biffle, they've been racing their brains out. Steven's moved himself up to 11th spot, Greg Biffle 10th. But boy, I tell you what, when I saw them all go down into turn one side by side at 180 miles an hour, something had to give.
All right. As you see Adrian Fernandez in the Lowe's car flash by. Fernandez, one of the all-time favorites here in Mexico City, now finds his way back in the top 10. He could be a factor. He says, I really want it today for the fans here in Mexico City. There's the top 5. Back with more in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Carlos Contreras. We are in Mexico City, so this is my town, okay? Come on, let's go. This is Reforma Street. This is one of the biggest avenues in Mexico. And behind me, this is the Ángel de la Independencia. So it's the biggest monument in Mexico. Ángel de la Independencia means Independence Angel. So Independence Day in Mexico is September 16th. No Cinco de Mayo, no margaritas.
Colorful guy. Carlos shares the city with about 20 million people. He's one of the Mexican hopes, as you see the fans. Got an impromptu mariachi in the stands here. Busch Series third ever visit to Mexico City. This is a list of Mexican-born drivers. Fernandez, the veteran here, the kind of the elder statesman of this group, started 17th. He's already moved up to 8th position. Road course veteran Germán Quiroga was another young Mexican driver. He led 3 laps before pitting, and you see Carlos Contreras, who started in the front row and is now running in the 19th position. So fans enjoying themselves in the stands and certainly keeping an eye on where the Mexican drivers will finish. There've been one top 10 finish in the first 2 years here, and that was Fernandez in 2005. Jerry?
Yeah, Chris, and I thought Darlington and Talladega had wild crowds. They're having some fun here. Now, Carlos Contreras, his 15th career Busch Series start, his best ever starting spot. He started on the outside front row, and he was thrilled this morning in the garage area when he was told by Armando Fitz, the car owner, he's going to get to run 8 or 10 races this year in this Dodge, and also was told, by the way, he will make his NASCAR Nextel Cup Series debut at Infineon Raceway later in the year. So good things happening for Carlos Contreras, the native of Mexico City. Let's check in his pits with Alan Bestwick.
And just update his race, Doc. You mentioned he started on the front row. Remember, they had the problem on the pit stop where the tire rolled away, and they had to hold Carlos in the pits until they brought that tire back to avoid a penalty. Now the crew chief, Paul Wolf, telling Carlos he keeps locking up one of the front tires in the heavy braking zones, which when you're trying to make a long run on fuel is not going to help you very much when you're winding through these corners. So they're telling him to adjust the brake bias on the car to try and help that problem. That and all that heavy traffic he's in have set him back in the pack.
You got a brake balance bar in there. There's a little knob that the driver can turn, and he can actually change the way that thing brakes as far as the front to rear. And when he's locking up that right front, what his crew chief is going to tell him is put a little more rear brake in it. And that way it won't lock up that front wheel and flat spot it, because that can really hurt you a lot. You got to rely on that thing for about 35 laps, so you got to take care of it.
Now, Rusty, you got shifters. You got to worry about shifting the car. You got to worry about the brake bias and knobs. How many times do you take both hands off the steering wheel on a road course?
Well, you take your hands off, Jerry, many, many times on a road course, like Andy was explaining. You know, you can adjust that brake balance, and what that's doing is taking pressure off the front wheels and putting more pressure on the rear brakes. So that's a very, very good tool to adjust with. But these guys are on the brakes, gas, you know, right foot on the gas, left foot on the brake, and then it's a hand off. The right hand's going to come off onto the steering. Look at it, hands off, hand back on. Happens pretty quickly. I mean, this is very orchestrated. These guys are. Now let's take a look at Ron's Fellows. His shifter is very, very short compared to the taller ones. The taller ones have more leverage. So when these guys move that handle, it's a lot more leverage. They can get it in gear and make sure they got it in gear that way.
Ron Fellows is the last non-American driver to win in the NASCAR Busch Series. He has 3 wins, all 3 coming at Watkins Glen.
And right here is that knob. That's the brake balance knob. He could reach up there and turn that thing to the right, and it would put more rear brake in it. Turn it to the left, puts more front brake in it.
There's a look at Fellows in the 33 car. By the way, that's the same car that Tony Stewart drove at Daytona Beach and Kevin Harvick drove at California. He becomes the 3rd different driver in that Kevin Harvick incorporated car. Let's go to the Fellows pits and check in with Alan.
Doc, normally when you have Ron Fellows in one of these road course races, you expect him to be up front and contending at least for a top 5 spot. Well, Fellows has fallen back to 10th position. His crew chief, Dan Stillman, says that Ron is just having trouble getting the car to grip the track as well as he needs to. Sometimes the front end slides, sometimes the back end slides. The Ron doesn't say a whole lot on the radio himself, but just an overall lack of grip is what's bugging him right now.
That is the hardest thing to fix on a pit stop. When you don't have a good clue of whether it's the front or the rear, just no grip overall, it's really hard to try to adjust to that.
Where do you start?
Well, you got to talk to that driver and you say, tell me what's hurting you the most. Tell me one place I can help you the most, and have him dissect it just a little bit farther. And then when he tells you that, say, okay, I'm pushing in turn 1. Well, then fix that first.
All right, here's the battle for 8th position. The 5 car of Adrian Fernandez trying to hold off former series champion Greg Biffle. Let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, earlier today I spoke with Chad Walter, Adrian Fernandez's crew chief, and he said he wants to keep Adrian out of this particular position. He does not want to put him in a position where he has to hold off the competition, where he has to block. That's the exact situation he's in right now. All he's saying about the car is that it's a little bit loose in turns 7 and 8. Otherwise, it's okay. But keep this in mind. His tire's a little bit older than most of the cars out there. He has not been down pit road since lap 8.
All right, guys, and also what they've got to be thinking about, along with not wanting to put him in this position, guys, is that we are 5 laps away from halfway. All that fuel strategy could come into play. Remember, our leaders have only made that one pit stop. Greg Biffle now riding behind Fernandez. Rusty, what's he thinking about?
Well, right now, he's just thinking about his track position, how his car's handling. You know, we were talking a little while ago about the 33 car around Fellows, his front end pushing. Well, guys, it looked like his front fenders were all bent up in that car, especially the right front of the number 33 car. The fenders I saw caved in on it. That could really cause the handling problems with his car. Now, you see a big move out of here of the 37 car, Greg Biffle under braking. That's where him and Steve Wallace got together. He thought better move back in line right now. That braking zone into 1 is what's tearing these fenders up, and you really got to be careful getting in this high-speed corner.
One thing, Rusty, that they might think of is try to save the brakes for about a lap here, get them cooled down now. Since they've been using them a lot, they've kind of heated up. If he saves those brakes enough, maybe he could make a kind of a dive move on that, on him going in, on Fernandez going in 1.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Andy. If you don't have the confidence going into turn 1 with a good solid brake pedal, would have really stopped that car good. A lot of times I call it a mushy brake pedal. You put force on the brake pedal and the car doesn't stop near as fast as you want it to. You push more and you know what happens? It locks up the rear wheels and the car goes into what we call a violent rear wheel hop. It lets the car jump up and down, slide off the course. And so if you don't have good front brakes, it's going to lead to a problem in the rear. Now, Biffle came in, he pulled tape off the grill, cooled those things back down and helped him. We see that damage on the right front of the 33 car. That could hurt the car. Now we're hearing about a possible engine problem, Alan.
Yeah, John, remember I just said Ron doesn't talk that much on the radio? He just talked on the radio, said the car was filling up with smoke. He feels like it's slowed down. He thinks they have a mist developing in the engine. Now remember, this is a Childress Racing engine under the hood of this car, and some of the Childress engines have experienced problems in practice this weekend here in Mexico City. We'll see if that's going to continue to be a theme in this race.
All right, Ron Fellows, who is a very good road racer, obviously former Trans Am Series champion and 3-time winner in the NASCAR Busch Series, having his troubles there in the Camping World Chevrolet as the car is sputtering a bit. Well, we're going to take a break, but remember, we have full circle coverage. You will not miss a thing. We've got coverage on ESPN, ESPN 360. Juan Pablo Montoya is our leader. Pit stops coming up in about 4 laps.
Approaching the halfway mark of this Busch Series race in Mexico City, the Holiday Inn race rundown. Lots of pageantry to start things off, and all the fans, Mexican fans, looking at their drivers. And of course, the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. 3rd lap, he passes his teammate, the pole sitter Scott Pruitt, an aggressive pass on the inside, some slight contact. Montoya taking command. It's been a rough afternoon so far for Pruitt. He's hit right there by young Alex Garcia. Some damage done to Pruitt's car, but not enough to bring him to the pits, and he is still running in 2nd position to his teammate. Back with Tim and Brad. And Tim's making some mad notes here, all kind of figures, but what you tell me it adds up to is a good-looking situation for Montoya in the second half of this race.
I tell you what, I just keep notes. You know, I got the leader sitting here logged in. I've got the 10th place car logged in. You know, Montoya, he's in the next zip code. He's 2 seconds on the 2nd place guy. He's 22 seconds on the 10th place guy. I mean, if he makes it to lap 42 like Andy's fuel mileage consumption was, hey, he's home free.
Yeah.
Catch him out.
Well, Denny Hamlin and Scott Pruitt both look good. I mean, they do have an opportunity to catch up, but Montoya is so smooth right now. As you watch him work his way around this racetrack, he looks effortlessly in his attempt to stay out front. He just looks great.
It was at this point in the race a year ago that Denny Hamlin took control, led the last 40 laps, and he said his car is going to get stronger and stronger as the afternoon goes on. Ron Fellows, the Canadian, 3-time winner of the Busch-Watkins Glen race, having some trouble just coming out of the pits as we check in with Alan.
Yeah, we documented the developing engine miss on this car a minute ago, Chris. They just brought the car in earlier than their planned scheduled stop, lifted the hood, did not change the tires. They didn't find a plug wire off or anything. They think they might have a valve spring that's failed.
The Childress guys have had some problems with engines this week, and I talked to them. They said it was like valve related. Lash cap, little thing that goes right on top of the valve. They've been breaking those. It's probably RPM related. And the 21 car's in. This is probably a planned pit stop. This is the car that we saw early in the race pit on lap 1. And that means he's getting really good gas mileage. We can see it's 40 laps to go. They feel like that they can make it to the end with the fuel they have.
Dave Burns?
And of course, they will need some. They may need some caution lap helps as well, Andy. And so we'll see how that works out for them. But now the best thing would be for all the guys to have to line up behind him, pitting after them. Like you said earlier, it's the first guy to pit last, and that guy is P.J. Jones. He hopes. That car, very good for P.J. right now. Slight chassis adjustment on this stop.
Okay, he's in the catbird seat right now. If the caution would happen to fly, he would be in the catbird seat because these guys here, he would be able to close right up to them, and they would still have to make a pit stop. So that's how this strategy works. If you're the first guy on pit road, it can put you in the catbird seat in case of a caution.
Let's remind the viewers now as you watch the P.J. Jones cars come back up to speed. The AutoZone 21 car, Richard Childress, that are leaders, by the way. Juan Pablo Montoya and Scott Pruitt, the top two cars, pitted on lap 10. It wasn't until lap 12 that the third place car, there is Pruitt, or Pablo Montoya, that Denny Hamlin came in on lap 12, and Carl Edwards, our fourth place car, Andy, pitted on lap 16.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, guys. You know, Juan Pablo Montoya is doing a great job driving this car, but you really got to give credit to Brad Parrott for setting this car up. Brad has got this car handling fantastic, and Brad and Juan Pablo have been getting along so good. And I'll tell you what, it's a great combination. You can see he's got a big lead right now.
Let's check in the Montoya pits with Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, what a disappointing season so far for the Juan Pablo Montoya crew. 39th is their best finish at Fontana today. What a turnaround. They have been dominant from start so far. They're going to come in about lap 45. That's about 4 laps from now. He's saying his car is a little loose. He's losing that rear end in the corners. But, guys, can you imagine if he takes home a victory today? It would by far be the best finish for Juan Pablo Montoya in NASCAR. Doc?
Juan Pablo Montoya, remember he won the 24 Hours of Daytona as a co-driver.
3 laps, 28.80. Awesome lap time, buddy. 29.15 behind you.
Brad Parrott talking to his driver, telling him they're going to pit in 3 laps. And we mentioned
4 tires.
As the 28 car had an off-road excursion, Herman Quiroga Jr.
And this is just what these guys don't want to see when this 21 car pitted. That put him in a really good spot here in case this caution comes out. They don't want to see the caution flag fly right now. If he'd have to tear that wheel up and rubber start flying off of it, be in trouble.
Here's Carl Edwards in, Alan Bestwick.
Well, it's a phrase that Dave used before, be the first to pit last. Carl Edwards' team, Chief Pierre Cattell, going to try that here. A 4-tire change on the 60 car. Had a very strong, very clean race so far. Kept the car on the course, as has been his goal all day. Smooth looking stuff. Now they'll see how the track position sorts out when everybody else pits. Dave?
Alan, Steve Wallace running 11th comes into pit. Damage showing on that car. His car was loose in every direction. That means it wanted to spin out on him. A 4-tire change and chassis adjustment for Steve.
Here's a look at the 17 car on pit road. That is Michel Jourdain Jr., the Mexico City native who had to go all the way.
One lane, right by the 66. Follow the 66. Good job, guys. Follow him out.
As he started at the back of the pack and worked his way back to the front, just makes his pit stops with 38 laps to go. And here's Herman Quiroga, who had the problem with the right front tire.
Stay right there, 4 tires.
So you listen to his crew chief and watch the crew now working on the right side of the car. Damage to the right front fender.
Jerry, so here's the problem you've got. You got a great driver right now. They just can't get the car pitted fast enough. They're having problems, and it's really killing them. The driver's doing a great job. The chassis is going. Classic case of coming down pit road and everything going apart on them.
Well, here comes Jorge Getters, the former record holder and pole sitter in 2005. He heads down pit road toward Alan Bestwick.
Pitting from the 6th position, Doc. Remember, they had a little bit of a slow stop last time. This is where a pit crew gets a chance to redeem itself, though. The last stop of the race. If you can bust off a terrific stop here, gain your driver back some track positions, you can go home at the end of the day feeling good about your day's work. Going to be the 4-tire change here. Fill it up with fuel as much as you can get in that car. Crew Chief Stuart Cooper telling the team to hold the car until they get the car full. They've sent him away with an air pressure and wedge adjustment.
All right, Jorge Getters, the reigning champion of the Mexico City Top Touring Series. And they are trying to hustle, Andy Peter. You have seen how difficult it is. Watch the jackman here for Carl Edwards.
Well, he trips right over. It looks like the air hose, and not a lot of room over there against the wall, but he recovers real well. Gets the jack down, gets the car up. These guys get some tires on it, and they try to minimize the damage, get back out on the racetrack. No real harm done, just lost a little bit of time.
And there he is. He's back up on his feet. These guys are definitely athletes. Unfortunately, NASCAR mandates that they wear helmets. Here are a couple of other cars coming down pit road. We're also being told they're going to bring a pass-through penalty for the 66 car of Steve Wallace. Here is the 9 car of Boris Said. Jamie.
Boris Said, as we reported earlier, he lost that shifter knob. They weren't able to put it on. He's still shifting without it. So far, the team is really happy with him in the car. They're sticking to strategy. He wanted to linger in the top 4 to 5 position. The last 20 laps, he said, look out, because he's going to take over. He wants to bring it home for his first Busch car win. Right.
Marcus Ambrose has had some trouble adjusting to the Busch Series. A week ago, he described California as the toughest track he's ever been on. This week, though, he said it's the first time he'd ever been comfortable. It's showing he's in the top 5. Alan?
And more pit stops continuing. This is Carlos Contreras. Remember a little while earlier, they told him to adjust the brake bias because he was sliding the front tires. Well, not being familiar with driving these cars every week, he put more
back in there.
He put more rear brake into it instead of more front brake, and so he slid the front tires even worse, and now he's undid that adjustment, and you see they've had a little bit of trouble on the stop, and that's not going to make anybody.
And frustration. Here comes a leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, coming down for what should be his final pit stop for the day. Jamie Little.
That's right. As I said, they made an air pressure adjustment. He was losing grip in the rear. 4 tires and full fuel is expected. Brad Parrott on top, making the call right now, timing that pit stop. Like last year, guys, this race was won and lost on pit road. And like you said, Doc, this hopefully is Juan Pablo Montoya's last trip down pit road. Mike.
Denny Hamlin pretty happy with his race car. Says it's just slightly loose. They're going to make a slight adjustment going down 1 round on the track bar. A full stop, 4 tires and fuel. Alan.
And Scott Pruitt pits from second place. His crew chief Brian Patty telling me seconds ago they're going to try and help the balance of the car. He's sliding the rear tires, but being able to keep up with Montoya. He's going to get off pit road and stay ahead of Hamlin there.
Boy, these Ganassi motors better be pretty tough, because I heard both the 41 and the 42 up against the rev limiter sitting there on the jack. So hope they hold up good.
Now, when you're up against a rev limiter, what happened? What's happening with the engine?
Well, what happens is they've got a little control box in there that doesn't let the ignition won't let the engine turn but a certain amount of RPMs, 9,000, 91, 9,200 RPMs, and that's where that motor went right up to, and then the ignition caught it. You could hear it, hear it missing up there in that high RPM.
And that is not good for the valve train at all, Rusty. You've heard that before.
Yeah, it's not good at all for the valve train. A lot of times what happens if you bring that engine up against a rev limiter, it starts misfiring, it tears up timing chains, it tears up a lot of things. It's just for protection. It's not to lean on and let the motor just beat itself to death against. So, some guys are good at it. Okay, we see the 37 car. Looks like he's getting ready to slow down and come down pit road to Greg Biffle. Biffle's done a great job with that backup car.
Greg Biffle, the 2002 Series champion, as you mentioned, Rusty, the backup car, and he will come down. It should be his final pit stop as the Bruco crew. He heads down toward Newton Moore, but Mike Massaro is there.
Doc, Greg Biffle very happy with his race car. No complaints whatsoever. In fact, he feels it's so strong, he sent his crew chief Newt Moore over to Chad Walter, the crew chief of Adrian Fernandez, not too long ago, to try to negotiate a deal, to try to get the 5 to move over and let him get by, to avoid any potential contact down the road. Biffle very happy with his car. They're not making any significant adjustments to the car itself, just a 4-tire change and fuel. Greg Biffle really couldn't ask for much more than what he's got. Pretty good tire change going on right now.
A tremendous amount of pressure for not only these drivers, but these crew members. You see them on pit road, dancing around, trying to make these stops in a hurry. Adrian Fernandez in.
Yes.
Mike.
Adrian Fernandez came over his radio just before coming down pit road saying, I have no grip at all. Chad Walter, though, discounting that information, saying there's nothing really wrong with the car. He just feels that the tires are so old, and that's the problem. Just a 4-tire change, a slight air pressure adjustment for Adrian Fernandez.
4 tires is about the only adjustment you can make for no grip.
When you don't have any grip, you're just sliding around. Put 4 tires on it, maybe drop the air pressure on all 4 tires, but you try to get the car on the track, a little bit more grip.
We are being told we might have a fuel issue on the 42 car. Jamie, what's the problem?
Well, Doc, the catch can hose actually went all the way inside inside the car. The team right now scrambling to figure out how many gallons of fuel they got. Not sure they're going to get enough. As you saw, he pitted on lap 45. That would put him right at lap 80, right to the end. If they came up short at all, guys, they would have to come in again, and you know what that means.
Oh my, you saw the frustration, the head down from Brad Parrott. This driver, now Brad, when you have these kind of issues, how much do you tell your driver? Do you want to take his focus away?
Well, right now you won't tell him anything. They're doing right here, what they're doing is trying to measure exactly how much fuel we got in the car. And what I'm seeing is they're pouring some extra fuel in another can. They probably didn't get the car completely full, and they're going to need every drop of fuel they can hold in that car to make it to the end.
Rusty, if they tell you as a driver, can you do something about maybe trying to save fuel up front?
Well, you can pedal the thing a little bit. Pedal it means get out of the throttle a little bit, try to coast through the corners more, Jerry, try to save some fuel mileage. But one thing I would like to know is exactly what happened to that thing. Let's hear more about it. Jamie can get on that again for us and try to figure out more of what happened to it. Jamie, go ahead.
Rusty, they just did the math. They only got 6.5 gallons in that car. That means they must pit in 8 laps. You see them looking at the fuel right now. Big mistake. Unfortunate for Juan Pablo Montoya, who led most of the race.
Oh, what a huge disappointment here for Juan Pablo Montoya. He will have to come back in 8 laps and refuel this car, and then somehow he's going to have to drive like he has never driven before to try to get this car back up through the pack. The Formula International superstar, 31-year-old Juan Pablo Montoya is our leader, but not for long. He has to come back on pit road and refuel back in just a moment. This live telecast from Mexico City is available on ESPN2 HD, presented by Vizio. On board the 42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya, live NASCAR Busch Series action from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez road course.
Take care of your tires.
And that is the word from Brad Parrott. And here is what happened just a few laps ago on this pit stop from Juan Pablo Montoya.
Okay, we see the catch can man. He grabs the first can and pulls it away. We can see it's pretty heavy, and all this gas flying out. He must not have the fuel can is not engaged. He's got it in his hand. That overflow can has to be engaged to vent the fuel cell so the fuel can go in the car.
And we are being told they got less than 10 gallons, approximately 8 gallons. Let's find out what exactly happened here. Jamie is standing by with the crew chief, Brad Parrott.
That's right, and Brad is the man we've been hearing on the radio with Juan Pablo Montoya. Brad, what happened exactly on that last stop?
Well, the overflow tube has gone out of the car. It's held on by a hose clamp, a 15-cent hose clamp, I'm sure. And yes, 3 laps. Yeah, I'm sure, I just can't believe it. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know if a caution will come out in the next 3 laps, but we're going to come in. I'm not going to take a chance in running them out of fuel. So we're going to come in and not take any tires. Got to raise the deck lid, put the hose back through the hole, and put the catch can in.
Is this something you guys think you can get figured out to make it to the end of the race?
Oh, yeah. We're going to fill it up right here and be good for the end of the race. Hopefully we'll get a caution or 2 and get back up through.
All right, Tim Brewer, they're coming in 3 laps.
Come on, Shifty. Hey, here we are, guys. Just look, a tank shot right in here. Here at the Navy car, what they're elaborating on, there's a valve in here. You can see this ink pen right here. When I push this pin in here, it opens this flapper door up. Apparently what happened, this hose clamp right here fell off. This valve fell down inside of here. Therefore, the guy sitting putting the fuel in the car right here, if you don't open this valve up with my left hand, you don't get any fuel in. Bad break for these guys.
Thank you very much, Tim Brewer. For more information, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word Autotech. And our Chevy exhibition car down there with Tim Brewer, our crew chief emeritus. And guys, how many times does like a 15-cent part cost you a race?
I tell you, that's unbelievable for something like that to happen. I mean, this guy is just wearing this field out. He's flying around this course. Him and Scott Pruitt are just putting a schooling on these guys out here in this track right now. Montoya is just absolutely class of the field. The car's handling perfect. But to come down and stick the catch can in and the whole hose falls in, just like you said, Jerry, this hose clamp was not tightened, and that's what caused this problem. It's hidden back up with the deck lid, and you know what? Andy, it's not one of those items you really always seem like you're maintaining on a daily basis, is it?
Hey, bud, next time by, you know, we're going to raise the deck lid. You'll go on me. 28.54.
It actually is something that's on the checklist. I'm sure every single part on that race car is on the checklist.
Car will be looser because we're going to fill it up with gas on older tires.
All crash. Here's the 13 car that has come off the track. Todd Souza, the Watsonville, California driver, and a caution comes out, full course caution, and what a huge break for Juan Pablo Montoya.
It's going to be a great break for him, but he's still going to have to race by a lot of cars because I don't think you'll see all these leaders on pit road.
Now, right of your screen is that's Chip Ganassi, left Felix Tabatas. These are the two co-owners of the Montoya and Scott Pruitt cars.
We're changing 4 tires now, guys. We're changing 4 tires. We're going to change 4 tires. I want 1 tire carrier. 4 tires, 1 tire carrier.
Okay, he's splitting up the workload. He would normally use 2 tire carriers. He's going to take one of those guys and have him open that trunk, try to get that part out there and get it fixed where they can get gas in it and put 4 tires on it.
And Rusty, I believe this guy is talented enough to change 4 tires, go to the back of the pack with 28 laps left and make his way back toward the front.
Well, Jerry, it very well could be. I mean, he's been flying out there right now. Now it's a whole different mental attitude. Juan Pablo's going to be up in the wheel. Not that he hasn't been all day long, but he's going to be more yet. Now, the guy's sitting in really good shape is Scott Pruitt and Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards, Boris said, guys like that. They have no problems. They'll probably just stay on the track. They're going to be home free. We're going to keep an eye on Juan Pablo Montoya because he's the cat that's flat and be flying through this field.
Let's quickly show you why we are under yellow once again. Watch the 13 car, the top left side of your screen, as there is contact right there in the 13 car if Souza goes around.
Pit road is closed. Stay out.
All right, you heard Brad Parrott tell his driver you must stay on the racetrack. There again is the spin, the contact with the 13 car and the 27 of Jorge Getters. And Souza goes around. Now, because pit road is closed, they're going to have to make one more lap before this pit stop. We'll take a quick break and come back and see if Juan Pablo Scott could get this car fixed in a hurry. Back in a moment. Back in Mexico City, critical events, lap 45. This was supposed to be the final pit stop for Juan Pablo Montoya, but they can't get fuel in the car. They're shaking. He leaves pit road with just 8 gallons. Lap 52, this contact between the 27 of Jorge Getters and the 13 of Todd Souza may just have given Montoya a chance to come back and have a shot at winning this race. We are under caution here with NASCAR Busch Series live coverage in full circle coverage in Mexico City, Mexico. 27 laps remain here, and the international road racing superstar will be headed to pit road here momentarily.
As soon as y'all see the gas in the hole, because I want less gas, because we are hauling butt right there with less gas. We don't have to fill it up now, because we got 26 laps to go when we take the green. Okay? Or do you want full of gas, Juan? That's 4. 10-4. Just leave the trunk up, leave the trunk open, and when you see it come in the hose, pull it out.
Do you hear Brad Parrott telling his crew, getting everyone to know their jobs? And Andy, he said, do not fill it up. Do you agree?
I don't agree with that because I don't know how you can try to time that to hit it just right. At the problems they've had here, I want to make sure I got enough fuel to get to the end.
And that's the only problem because you don't know how much is going in it. But boy, his car's running fast with not much in it. That's what he was talking about.
Here's the critical pit stop, Jamie Little.
He's hauling ass right there.
Juan Pablo Montoya enters his pit box right now. Remember, guys, we're on a road course. It's backwards, and these guys are changing up their strategy. 1 tire carrier instead of 2. Now, what Brad Parrott told the team to do, leave the trunk open, find the actual hose that fell in, get that out. You guys make the adjustments. Juan said, go ahead. Either you guys fill it up or you put just enough for 26 laps. You can see it. It's going to take a little bit more time on this stop because of the 1 tire carrier. Looks like they got the fuel hose out that went in the trunk. They made it. They're still having problems. It's in and he's out, guys. Juan Pablo Montoya is out and away.
As they have a very deliberate pit stop there to make sure they get everything done with the car. He cannot make a mistake leaving pit road at 35 miles per hour. And now, Rusty Wallace, if you're Juan Pablo Montoya, and this has happened to you, I know it's happened to you in your career, you're at the back of the pack. You've got some laps, but you've got a long way to go and a lot of traffic to get by. What are you thinking about?
Well, right now, Jerry, all he can do is pull those seat belts down tight, hold on, get a little drink of water, and breathe real hard and go, get out of my way, cats, because here I come. And he's going to drive his brains out, because you know why? That's the only shot he's got. There's too many cars on the racetrack. These are single file restarts most of the time. He's going to be so far back, it's unreal.
Back to the Montoya pits and Jamie Little.
Brad Parrott giving his driver Juan Pablo Montoya a little motivation, reminding him that Kevin Harvick was in this situation before. Brad, you're smiling now. What was accomplished on that stop?
Well, we got the overflow hose back where it belongs, and you know, Mark Rhett, my car chief, he stuck it in there and didn't pay attention to see what happened. We'll check it out after the race and see if the hose clamp broke or whatever. But it's going to be interesting.
Did you get enough fuel to make it to the end?
Yeah. I actually didn't even fill it up because we ran a 27 something, and it was a second faster than anybody ran. So just real proud of this whole race team, and we can't catch a break, but I want to tell my grandmother and everyone at home I love them.
All right, guys, we'll sit back and wait till the end to see what happens with the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya.
Thank you, Jamie. You know what? I've seen Juan Pablo Montoya. I was there the day he won the Indianapolis 500 in his first ever trip there. I watched him win the premier Formula One event in the world, the Grand Prix of Monaco. He did it by climbing up on that steering wheel and refusing to lose. Now, he is in the back of the pack, but I would never count this guy out with 26 laps to go. This is going to be one heck of a shootout.
Well, he's had it his way up front all day, but now he's going to have to pull those belts tight, just like Rusty said, and he's going to get on with it. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Jerry, his car has been so fast. It's just amazing how quick his cars run around a racetrack. And it's a combination. You know, every good driver will tell you there's no I in a race team. It takes good engines, good aerodynamics, a good crew chief, shock specialist, and it's all come together right here at Mexico City. Now, he's behind. He can't give up. He's got to be relentless. We know his car's running quick. Here's the problem, though, guys. He's got clean air. He's up at front. I'm concerned if he gets back in his traffic where he is right now. Will that car handle that good, Andy? What do you think?
Well, I think he's going to have to make his own way.
All right, guys, he has not had very much luck this year. In fact, if you look at
your tire was going down, bud.
Take a look at the first two events of the year at Daytona Beach. He started 16th, made it all the way to 5th spot, and then this happened. They had an engine problem on the 42 car. He had to come down pit road, recorded a 40th place finish. Last week at California Speedway, he looked to be minding his own business, running in the top 25. As you go back to the 42 car, we mentioned last week he got just T-boned by Jason Leffler, heavy damage on his car. As we are set to go back at Juan Pablo, those are his finishes in the first two events, 40th at Daytona and 39th at California.
Get ready, green, green, green.
All right, Jerry, right now it's all about outbraking these guys. Montoya's going to have to outbrake everybody, getting into turn 1, turn 4, wherever he can take it. That's where he's going to make his ground up.
Pruitt, the left side of your screen. Denny Hamlin trying to make a move on the outside. He can't get it done with a right-hand turn, can he?
No, not on that side. I wouldn't even attempted that one. But, you know, Denny wanted to get in front of him because he's been bumper to bumper with the 41 car of Scott Pruitt right now. He's thinking, hey, if I can get it done now, let's get it done.
There's Montoya back behind the 7 car of Mike Wallace, and he is jamming his way through the field. Meanwhile, up front, the 41 car of Scott Pruitt as a leader. Then comes Hamlin, and a 20 car trying to hold off the 60 of Edwards.
You got Brian Semo in the 34 car a lap or so down. These leaders are trying to work their way by him. Looks like his car is pretty fast, so it's making it really very difficult.
You know, Andy, a lot of guys pitted behind him back farther in the back of the pack with sticker tires, fresher tires. You know, that might really play into play late in this race if a caution flag does come out to close him back up in the front with those better tires. So a lot of things unfolding here today at Mexico City. Man, there's so many, it's hard to keep up with them.
They head into turns 7 and 8. Semo, the former Trans Am Series champion, was trying to stay on the lead lap. Now he will go into the lap down as Pruitt flashes by. And on the inside, the 20 car of Hamlin also able to get by. Here comes Edwards moving by the 34 of Semo.
You got to remember now, going to this turn right here, going into turn 1, you see Edwards on the left-hand side of your screen. It's all about out-braking, getting in the corner. Boris said right on his tail right now through turn 1, getting ready to exit turn 2. Now here's where you got to have a lot of head of steam to get that momentum down at back straightaway. Off of turn 3, you see Boris right on the tail end of Carl Edwards. If you can get right on the tail of guys, you can dart out and make that pass, but you got to be right there.
These guys have been patient early in the race, but we can see the patience wearing a little thin here as the race wears down to the end.
You saw Marcus Ambrose, the 59 car, make a move. Behind him is Biffle. They are trying to make moves for position. Here's the 9 car of Boris Said as he slides beneath the car of Edwards.
Well, I wish we had a replay on that one of Boris Said going past Carl Edwards, because if I tell you what, going into turn 4, that's the area we talked about where they can outbrake and pass, and I'm sure that's what's happened.
Carl Edwards will be moved back to 4th position. Boris Said moves to 3rd.
I'll tell you, the guy I've really been impressed with, guys, is Greg Biffle. He's in 6th right now with a backup car. You know, him and Steve got together early, tore some fenders up, but got back on the track, got going again. And to have a backup car, Andy, and start where he had to start, you know, with no track time, is guess what I'm saying, not much of all. He's doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, these guys not having a whole lot of time to prepare the car either, so I'm really impressed with what these guys have been able to do.
Yeah, Newton Moore, the crew chief on that yard man for the 37 of Biffle. They did a heck of a job. This was a brand new car. They were planning on running at Montreal in August. They had to bring it out a few months early and in a hurry after the primary car had damage. Now behind these guys is the 1 car, and that of course is J.J. Yaley. Let's check in with Dave.
And he's having a great day, Doc. JJ has pitted so that they are just about 1.5 laps to the good for the end of this race. His car running very well, and if the Mexican fans here were looking for somebody else to cheer for, well, JJ's maternal grandmother was 100% Mexican, and he was introduced with a sombrero on today. They know who's in the 1 car, and they're rooting for him too.
All right, thanks, J.J. Yaley, one of only 2 drivers to record 2 top 10s on road course events a year ago. Kevin Harvick was one of them, and J.J. Yaley, who finished 4th here at Mexico and 9th at Watkins Glen. Very good on the road course.
I tell you, I'd like to give a shout out to Stephen Light also. Stephen's done a great job. He's in 10th place right now, and he's right on the bumper of Adrian Fernandez, one of the best drivers in the country, that's for sure. You know, for a kid that hasn't had much time on a road course, Andy, he looks awful good to me.
I'll tell you, you show me a driver that can race good like this on a road course, and he just shows he's got a lot of talent. So, you know, you look at the great race car drivers, they can all race well on a road course.
You know, it's a great year for Robert Yates Racing. He has really aligned himself with some great drivers. You know, with Ricky Rudd coming back, David Gillian driving this car, and now Stephen Light in the Busch Grand National effort. Look at the fenders. There's no dents on it, no scratches. The kids kept everything out of harm's way today. And, hey, we're getting 23 laps to go, and he's took care of his equipment. That's what you got to do, man.
All right, with more on Stephen Light, let's check in with Mike Massar.
Well, I think you guys hit the nail pretty much on the head with Stephen Light, a very poised individual. He said coming into this race, his #1 strategy is go slow to go fast. He needs to stay on the race course. Nothing special, nothing flashy, just stay on the race course. Before this weekend, Stephen Light had exactly 10 laps of road course racing in a Busch Series car. Not a heck of a lot of experience. So this week the approach was not really to make a lot of adjustments in the race car, but put a lot of laps on it during practice. Stephen Light took 50 laps during practice, and it appears it's paying off, guys.
And Mike, those 10 laps came at Watkins Glen a year ago, but they had engine trouble. He didn't get to finish the race. He told me the last time I competed on a road course was when I was 15 years old in a go-kart. That's how long ago it's been. This kid is doing a heck of a job.
He's getting a good lesson right here. These are 2 of the best road racers, in Adrian Fernandez and Michelle Jourdain, and they're giving him a little lesson, and he's going to learn how to get around this racetrack and try to pass them, because he's got a better car.
Man, I'll tell you what, I remember a long time ago, I used to go to Daytona. I didn't know how to drive Daytona, and I still wasn't the best at it, but I used to watch Cale Yarborough and Bobby Allison and guys like that. Is, hey, kid, shut up and follow me. You know, and that's exactly what Stevens right now. He's following a lot of really good drivers out there, keeping it on the course. And, you know, it's really hard to learn road racing unless you can just get out there into action and follow and see what everybody's doing and make the moves where your car will make the moves instead of somebody telling you what to do. But, you know, the course here at Mexico, flat like it is, it's a good course for these guys to learn at. Look at Montoya, man. He's flying through this field right now. And we get another caution here. He's going to get caught up, guys.
Guys, he moved into the top 15 a moment ago and now is battling his way up toward 12th position. So Juan Pablo Montoya has come from the back of the pack to a 12th spot. And guess what, guys? We still have 21 laps to go. Now, if you're the crew chief, Andy, are you concerned about him using up his tires because he's driving so aggressively?
Well, you just got to use them for all they're worth. It's 20 laps to go, 21 laps to go. He's got to get it done. He's got to pass a lot of cars. You just tell him to try to take care of the equipment.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Andy. If I was Stephen Light's crew chief, you know what I'd say? If you see Montoya coming, I'd say, hey, kid, get out of the way, because here he comes, because he is not going to slow down. Once he gets to the 90 car, he's going through the 17 car. He's just going to keep on getting it.
All right, Juan Pablo Montoya is on the march. He is a driver possessed. Now he's getting to some cars that are very good. And he knows that these fans here in Mexico City would love to see a Mexican driver win, but they also have a tremendous following for this Colombia South American driver. Incredible fan following here at NASCAR Busch Series action from Mexico City. Back in Mexico City, caution is out for the third time a day. After 61 laps are complete, the 18 car has spun off the course. Brad Coleman, the Martinsville, Virginia driver, has brought out caution, the Joe Gibbs Racing effort. And that is going to be a huge help for Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, his teammate, Scott Pruitt, is our leader despite the damage on the left side of his car. There's his last year's winner. Danny Hamlin in second. Boris Said is third. Carl Edwards fourth. Greg Biffle in the backup car. Great run in fifth spot. Marcus Ambrose sixth. J.J. Yaley seventh. Adrian Fernandez ninth. Eighth. And guess who is ninth? Juan Pablo Montoya. Restarted back in 19th position after having to make that unscheduled pit stop to put fuel in the car. And now he certainly is being shown in the top 10 with less than 20 laps to go. And Rusty, we thought this might happen, but he has driven the wheels off this car.
He really has. I mean, I know Scott Pruitt's leading this race, and he's won the 24 Hours of Daytona. He's a dominant, one of the best road racers in the world. So let's give him his due. And by the way, Jerry, Pruitt has been the fastest car in the racetrack for a long time. He's absolutely been quicker than Montoya. But Montoya is fast also, and he's coming through this field like it's nothing, guys.
But the one thing he does have, he's got 10 laps less on his tires than these leaders do. So I expect him to have a good advantage. He's got a fast race car. I expect him to really bust up through here.
Well, with those sticker tires being a brand new tires to give you more grip on the racetrack, that is a big advantage over the leader, Scott Pruitt.
Now, he was able to pass a lot of cars, but now he's gotten to some guys in front of him that are very good road racers. Adrian Fernandez, who, by the way, is a very good friend of Juan Pablo Montoya's, is right in front of him, you know, in the 8th position. So he's not going to be able to scoot by some of these guys as easy as he did some of the others back in the pack.
You're exactly right, Jerry, but although he was outrunning Adrian Fernandez that last lap by 1 second, that's what those fresh tires, like Andy Petrie just told us, do for you. And it's going to be interesting to see what Juan Pablo does, because I know he's a man possessed right now.
You see his accomplishments in racing. The Kart Series champion, youngest in history. He had 7 wins that year, by the way, 5 of them coming on road courses. He won the 2000 Indianapolis 500, the Grand Prix of Monaco. His best finish to date in the Busch, 11th last year at Memphis. That could change here today. All right, we get ready to talk to our in-race reporter, Rusty Wallace. Let's talk to Juan Pablo Montoya.
Juan Pablo Montoya, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Check off and loud and clear.
Juan Pablo, I know this is really upsetting that you had that fuel problem, but you're one of the fastest cars in the track right now. You're 9th, outrunning everybody. We really believe you got time to get it done. Are you feeling a lot of pressure?
Well, I'll tell you, Rusty, I got to say, everybody, Texaco Javelin Dodge, and here in Mexico with Telcel done an amazing job. I know, we got to do the best we can, but this race we need to bring the car home. Last 2 races we haven't scored any points, and as much as I want to try to win this race, I need to bring the car home. So, I'm not going to give up. If I have a chance to get past everybody, I'll tell you, I'll take it.
All right, buddy, you got fresher tires than anybody in front of you right now. You got sticker tires on your car, not many laps. You got the equipment you need. We're pulling for you. You're exciting to watch, so we'll get off the air right now and watch this thing happen.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty.
All right, Juan Pablo Montoya, if you just joined our coverage, had to make a second pit stop because they couldn't get the car full of fuel. He was leading when he came back in, went all the way back to 19th spot. It's found his way into the top 10 here. And Andy Petrie That is so disheartening for a crew, but you can't really let the driver know, I guess, how frustrating that is.
I think Brad Parrott did a great job of getting his guys. Once you have that problem, you got to rally them around here, do the best you can, make the best recovery possible. They got the car full of fuel, or they got enough fuel in it to make the finish. They got fresh tires on it. They've done everything they can to put themselves in position to win.
All right, we told you there was a friendship, a long-term friendship between the 5-car driver, Adrian Fernandez, and the car behind him, Juan Pablo Montoya. These guys like each other. They've been friends a long time. Mike Massaro, is there some dealing going on down in the pits?
Well, it sounds like there might be. Chad Walter just walked down to Brad Parrott and told him that he would prefer that Montoya does not push the issue, and if he's faster, they will certainly move aside to let him go. But this seems like the situation that Adrian Fernandez has been looking forward to all weekend. I spoke with him on Friday, and he said while he's excited to come here to Mexico City, what excites him the most is that he can renew his rivalry with Montoya and excite the fans, give them a taste of what they saw back in 1999 and 2000 when these two guys battled for the Champ Car Championship together.
I'll guarantee you he's going to be pushing the issue when the green comes out.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if I don't believe these two cats ought to be racing each other. They better race this racetrack and keep the fenders on it, because we only got 18 laps to go. They both got fast race cars, but I think Fernandez better realize that Montoya's got fresh tires. He's been about a second faster, but I got to tell you, he is doing a great job, Adrian Fernandez. One of the most popular drivers here in Mexico City. Every time he comes by, I see the fans jump up in the grandstands. He could be running first, he could be running last, and they're still jumping up and down for Adrian.
All right, as you watch these cars get ready to restart, let's update our outside front row car, Carlos Contreras, back in the garage area with Dave Burns.
And Jerry, it is a disappointing update. Carlos sits in his car right now inside the garage. Power steering has failed on this car. The belt was still on, but the pump itself failed, so the team changing it so that Carlos can complete some laps in this race. Alan?
Scott Pruitt's team looking on in the first pit stall down on pit road, watching their driver. That's the crew chief, Brian Patty, and next to him, the two team owners, Felix Sabates and Chip Ganassi, respectively. They have told Scott Pruitt of the situation on the radio, where he's running in terms of where Montoya is, the lap times, and Brian Patty's basic words to Scott Pruitt were, he'll probably get to us, and then may the fastest car win. It should be an interesting final laps. How about for Ganassi and Sabates to sit there and watch their two cars like that, huh?
You know, I would have thought that Felix would have been sitting down in the pit area of Juan Pablo Montoya, you know, with Mexico, all the things that happen, Andy. But he's down there with Chip, his partner, pulling for Scott Pruitt. You know, I talked to Chip earlier, said, you know, it's such a feel-good when you got Scott Pruitt behind the wheel. Is every time they get a little behind and they get Pruitt behind the wheel, they always seem to get caught back up. And he's just such a solid driver, Scott Pruitt is, on his road courses. And here we go, Jerry.
All right, we'll see if Montoya can get there. Pruitt leads him down. Montoya right behind Adrian Fernandez. They go roaring into turn one at 180 miles per hour. Watch for the move. Montoya is on the inside of the 5-car, headed to turn one. And he has gotten by Fernandez to take the 8th spot away. And now looks as the 1-car, J.J. Yaley, slips up. Now Montoya has gained 2 spots in 1 turn. Sets his sights on the back of the 59 car, Marcus Ambrose.
He just moved up to the 7th spot right now, and he is coming through. I mean, 2 spots in turn 1. Very dicey move coming through turn 1. A move that probably most people suggest coming into turn 4 right now. Another passing zone that he can get something done with.
For years, he drove against the Michael Schumachers and company in Formula One. He won 7 times. He was the best driver in the world in the Formula One circuit 7 different times, and now he's using everything he's ever learned about road racing to somehow get back to the front to his teammate to win his first ever NASCAR event.
This is the first time that he's been on a race course that he's really comfortable with. He's driven these Busch cars, he's driven the Cup cars, but now they're on a road course, and this is what he's really comfortable with. He knows how to get this done. We see him outbrake Marcus Ambrose into that corner. And now he's got one more he's looking at. He's just one at a time.
And he's passing people on the racetrack where you normally don't pass. 160 miles an hour going in the entrance of turn 7. He made a pass there. I don't think I've seen anybody pass a car there yet.
This is one talented race car driver. Now the question is going to be, as he continues to move up now in the 6th position, he sets his sight on Greg Biffle. Biffle's not going to give him a lot of room. He gives him just enough, and he takes the 5th spot away.
Man, I'll tell you, Montoya, he's driving like he's a cat with a mouse bolted on the hood of that car, and he's just going for it, man. And Greg Biffle, now this guy's not scared of nothing, but he saw Montoya. Hey, we got a spin. Marcus Ambrose off the track. Will the caution come out? Will it be a local caution?
Hold on, stop. Now go.
Full course caution. Caution's out again. That's good for him. He's caught back up more yet now.
We see Brad Parrott put his hand up there, but this is actually a pretty good break. He'll be okay here. That'll close him back up, and he'll be able to go back to work.
And there is Felix Sabates and Chip Ganassi saying, well, now we've got one car leading the race, and we got another one that's going to become a real factor here. This is going to get very interesting.
So Jerry, what's up with that? Montoya's catching them. The two car owners go, oh, my gosh. And Brad Parrott goes, oh, my gosh. That's a good thing, guys.
All right, let's show you why we are under caution. The 59, the Matchlight charcoal car of Marcus Ambrose goes all the way around, does a nice job of getting it spun around. Adrian Fernandez missing in the 5 car. Ambrose does a double Joey Chitwood spin and still keeps the car in gear. On board with Michelle Jourdain, the Dish Network roof camera. Well, folks, Juan Pablo Montoya is 5th with 16 laps to go. This is going to be some kind of finish at Mexico City.
Still under caution with 15 laps to go in the Telcel Motorola Mexico City 200 in the Busch Series. There's Carl Edwards just leading Juan Pablo Montoya. He has been the focus here. The Colombian has driven like crazy, needed a caution, got one on lap 55 to move from 21st up to 5th. And now you can see a little deal being made, and the number 60 car is Carl Edwards. He's going to take over the Busch Series lead because Kevin Harvick is not down here in Mexico. Edwards' car position just in front of Montoya in 4th position right now, but they don't want to fight for it with Montoya driving this aggressively. It's like basically a 2.5 mile passing zone for the number 42 car. Let's go back to the booth.
All right, let's talk to our in-race reporter, Juan Pablo Montoya. He comes out, and Rusty Wallace, let's see if we can get a hold of Juan Pablo.
Juan Pablo, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Yes, Rusty, copy that.
Buddy, I tell you what, you're amazing to watch. You have sliced your way through the field. The only thing I can think you could do now is pull those seat belts down tighter because you are flying, buddy. What's the car feeling like?
So the car is awesome. You know, we got a fast car, but, you know, faster you go and further forward you go, it just gets harder. So, I don't know, we still have a chance, but I'm not giving up here. But as I tell you, we need to bring the car home, so I need to be careful.
It looks like Brad Parrott's got your car handling perfectly. The whole Ganassi team has really got you set right now. The fuel issue is old news at the moment. What's your plan right now? Just to try to outbrake everybody all you can, or get them through the S's?
You know, there's a couple of places. Into 1, into 4 you can pass as well. It's not so much how deeper you brake, but it's just about keeping momentum through the braking. That's the thing where I'm beating them up is through the braking. But I'll see, I don't know, we'll see. Guys have been very good to me. You know, when I've been going through, they've been giving me space, and it's been really good. And I think it's going to get harder further forward you go. I think these few guys in front of me are not going to be that easy.
Okay, Juan Pablo, thanks for talking with us. You got 14 laps to go, and have a good day there. It looks like you're looking great.
All right, Juan Pablo Montoya has come from 19th spot to 5th in 9 laps, gained 14 spots in 9 laps. Now the question is, can he pass the next 4 cars in front of him? We saw some discussions a moment ago.
He don't want to give it up, but he knows he's going to have to give it up.
With Brad Parrott.
And then when you get to the 9, he's going to race you. So you know what you got to do. You got plenty of time left. Best driver in the world, man.
That's Brad Parrott telling his driver what's going to go on. Let's check in with what actually was discussed with the 60 car, Alan.
Just the radio traffic to Carl Edwards from his crew. Carl said he did not want to let Juan Pablo by, but if he passed him cleanly, he wouldn't fight him. Carl is thinking big picture championship. You see Jack Roush there, the cat in the hat in the middle of the screen. Carl doesn't want to give up anything on the racetrack, but he doesn't want to get roughed up from behind either by somebody in a hurry to get through.
And the big picture is that Carl Edwards came into this race just 15 points behind Kevin Harvick in the NASCAR Busch Series point standings. Harvick did not come. He's running a limited schedule this year. So Kevin Harvick should leave here as the points leader if he doesn't have a problem.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carl Edwards knows the best way to get crashed is to hold up a guy behind you that's faster than you. So he'll be paying attention. I don't think he's going to give him too much trouble here because he knows Juan Pablo Montoya's car is faster than he is.
You know, I totally agree with you, Andy, that's for sure. But, you know, we're at Mexico City, man. We're only 3 races into the year. I know it's thinking about points, but if I was Carl Edwards, I want to win this race, Jer.
I tell you, he may be able to get by the 60, but my question is, when he gets to Boris Said, Boris is not going to move over and give him any room whatsoever, because Boris wants to win this race for the 9 car for Ray Evernham. So does Denny Hamlin. And what about his teammate when he gets up there to the front, if he gets there?
Now, you better remember about Denny Hamlin. He won this race last year. Denny's got a great car. We haven't been talking about him much. It's because he's been solid as a rock back there behind Scott Pruitt. He's another one of these drivers that, hey, he's got it covered. He knows what he's doing. But you're right. When you get to Boris Said, now there's a guy that took a lot of young drivers through school, taught them how to drive. He's like the old professor. So if I was Montoya and you get to the back of Boris Said, things are going to get a lot tougher.
Montoya's put on a road racing clinic here today, though. I'll tell you what, I've really been impressed with him.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm impressed, too, is that he got fresh tires in that car compared to the cars in front of him. Tell you what, there's nothing better, Jerry, than being late in the race and having fresh tires and having that confidence that you got the fastest car in the track, you got a really good handling car, you got enough fuel, and you got good tires.
All right, with more on the 20 car, let's check in quickly with Mike Massaro.
Well, Jerry, just about 5 laps before the caution came out, Denny Hamlin came over the radio and said, guys, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to watch my mirrors until the next caution. So this caution may signal a time for Denny Hamlin to go. Although, just a few moments ago, he expressed maybe a little bit of concern. He came over the radio and asked, is the 60 going to let Montoya by? It seemed as though Hamlin was not all that happy if there was a deal brokered. Doesn't seem like Hamlin wants to hold off Montoya if that situation materializes.
Guys, Juan Pablo Montoya has been able to make the pass inside of Edwards. Now looking inside the 20 car in turn 1. Hamlin on the outside. He has a preferred shot to make the left-hand turn. Oh, on the ripple strips, and Hamlin holds on to the spot.
I'm going to tell you what, Juan's got, he's got to get off this turn 4, right, or turn 3, I'm sorry, right on his bumper to get the momentum to get down into turn 4. But boy, he got right past Edwards and no problem whatsoever. You know, we talked to Juan Pablo about the best places to pass, and he said it's not so big, the out-braking zones. It's getting through the S's and keeping your momentum going. So let's see how he gets through. This is a very crucial part of the racetrack where he's at right now.
But this should be where his tires, his 10 laps less on his tires should help him right through these S's.
Andy, the exit of turn 6 where he's about to approach just right now, if he can get off of turn 6 wide open with a full head of steam, he might really get right up on the bumper of the 20 car at Denny Hamlin, make that pass he made earlier into turn 7.
I'd watch Juan Pablo Montoya here in turn 7 and turn 8, the big left-handers inside of the 20 car. Can he hang on? He gets the car up in the middle of the groove. What a picture-perfect pass.
He did it. He did it. I can't believe he did it again.
Nice and smooth, okay? Take care of the brakes.
Okay, that's 2 cars in 1 lap.
And a crash up across the racetrack. We will have caution again for the 5th time of the day. And there you see Tony Glover right side of your screen. There is Brad Parrott, the crew chief, talking to his driver Juan Pablo Montoya, who is now 3rd. And the caution is out. David Gilliland driving for Team Renzi.
And the plot thickens.
I'll tell you what, this is amazing. There's a lot of guys picking up a lot of positions out there today, and it just lets Montoya get closer and closer. I'm sorry, guys. I got so heated up on that turn 7, man. I just haven't seen anybody pass there, Andy. I mean, you saw it coming. We talked about you got to get off of that turn 6, and if you get off there wide open like he did, man, he had that head of steam going into 7, drove right underneath Denny. But you got to remember, he's got fresh tires.
Here's the damage on the right side, significant damage on the right side of the 17 car of Michel Jourdain Jr., the 1 car off the racetrack a moment ago. J.J. Yaley, the caution out for the 5th time. The 25 car, David Gilliland, involved in a spin as a couple 3 cars have gotten together. And what a finish we are setting up here. Here's what produced the yellow flag. Contact. And the 25 car of Gilliland goes spinning around. Back with the finish at Mexico City in a moment.
ESPN's presentation of NASCAR Busch Series at Mexico City, brought to you by Verizon Wireless. and by NASCAR Hot Pass, only on DirecTV. In the high altitude here, high drama with the 11 laps to go, and the focus has been on the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. His parents are here. Colombian expatriates are here in the stands, part of the global fan base for this open wheel superstar who has been driving like a maniac and helped out by a couple of cautions. Remember, a terrible start to the Busch season. Blew an engine at the Daytona 300, finished 40th at the starting 16th. California last week, started 29th. He got wrecked out, finished 39th, so no points so far, but he's trying to make a big statement here today, a race that he desperately wants to win, and now he has moved back into third position, trailing Boris Said, who's trying to break through with his Busch Series win, and his teammate Pruitt. Jamie is with the co-owner of the cars that are running 1 and 3 right now. Jamie?
That's right. Chip Ganassi is the man responsible for bringing Juan Pablo Montoya to NASCAR. I know it's been a roller coaster ride. Chip, is this what you've been waiting for, this moment right now?
Actually not, Jamie. I would have been perfectly happy had we had a clean day and just stayed at the front. Having to go through all this is probably going to give me a few more gray hairs.
There's no secret. You spent a lot of money to bring this man here. There's been a lot of hoopla. What are we going to see these last few laps?
Well, I mean, if he has an opportunity to pass, he will. I mean, but he's smart enough to know that, you know, he's only going to give the car what the car will accept. And if the car will accept it, he'll do it. But he's not going to do anything the car won't do.
His teammates right in front of him, Scott Pruitt, are their team orders going into these last few laps?
We had a long discussion about that this morning. And, you know, there's never any team orders in our teams. But the one team order is don't crash into each other.
There you have it. Don't crash into each other, guys. This is going to set up for one exciting finish.
Well, no team orders except don't wreck each other, and this could be one heck of a finish. The emotion of Brad Parrott and the Texaco Havoline crew. Can their driver get there? Juan Pablo has come from 19th to 3rd. 11 laps to go. A finish when we come back. Back in Mexico City, take a look at the March of Montoya. He was 19th because of an unscheduled pit stop. Lap 17, he goes by Michel Jourdain to take a spot away. 1 lap later, he dies beneath Greg Biffle, former series champion, to take a spot away. And now he's in the top 5. Just 2 laps ago, he goes on the inside, or the outside of Denny Hamlin to take a position away. It has been done before by open-wheel veterans Parnelli Jones, 4 career Nextel Cup victories for the former Indy 500 winner. How about A.J. Foyt? Supertex has won 7 times in NASCAR. Along with 4 Indy 500s, Mario Andretti, who of course won the Daytona 500 in 1967. Al Unser Sr., top 5s in NASCAR competition, also a 4-time Indy 500 winner. And of course, Al Unser Jr. started 1 race for Rick Hendrick, had a great run, but had a disappointment to finish back in 36th. Could this man be the next open wheel superstar to come to NASCAR and go to victory lane in only his 7th Busch Series start? 42 cars sitting back in 3rd spot. Let's check back in his pits with Jamie Little.
Well, we're talking about the teammates that target Chip Ganassi and Scott Pruitt and Juan Pablo Montoya, but in the middle is the number 9 of Boris Said. Guys, 44 years old, never won a Busch Series race. He wants to get it done today. So there is some chatter amongst crew chiefs to their drivers and so forth. This is what Brad Parrott was saying about Boris Said just a few minutes ago.
Just some FYI here. You did a great job on the 20s. Just be careful with Boris doing the same thing, because they have wrecked down there because they beat you down and then you get loose. So nice and smooth.
Now the crew chief, Mike Shiplett of Boris Said in the 9 car, warned his driver, Juan Pablo is behind you. He could look to try to take out his teammate and get this win. Just stay on your toes, buddy. It's going to get exciting, Doc.
All right, the guy in front of him, Boris Said in the 9 car, set on the pole and finished 2nd a year ago, leading 27 laps. He promised himself and his crew, Ray Evernham's bunch, he would not finish 2nd this year, and he would come here and win this race. He's not giving anyone anything. 10 laps to go. What a shootout in Mexico City. Green flag flies, and this is where Montoya has been able to make his moves at the end of the straightaway. Juan Pablo looks to the inside of the 9 car. Rush Rusty Wallace, he is going to try to outbreak Sid, and he gets the spot, but Sid comes back on the outside.
Boris is not going to give it up, but Boris is a smart driver. Juan Pablo's got the line. Now he's got Scott Pruitt in his gun sights. And the whole deal now is coming off this turn 3 to get a lot of momentum.
How about Denny?
Yeah, Denny Hamlin back alongside of Boris. Great move out of Denny.
That's the battle for third. Hamlin, the 20 car. Behind him is Carl Edwards. Behind all three of them is Greg Biffle.
Well, all this racing behind Montoya is old news right now. He's got him back there. He's got Scott Pruitt, his teammate, in his gun sights right now with fresher tires, and he's an expert through these S's. So I expect him to get right up on the rear bumper. Hey, maybe we'll see that wild turn 7 pass again. Who knows?
He's got 9 laps to go. He's got plenty of time. He can take his time here. He can pick and choose his points where he wants to try to make this pass. And he can kind of watch and see where Scott Pruitt's weak and then maybe pounce on it here later.
For the first time in about 15 laps, we're seeing Scott Pruitt in the 41 car really hustle that car. He was sliding the back end coming out of the S's. He knows he's going to have his hands full with his teammate.
He really does. I mean, it's just a matter of time before Juan Pablo gets up on his tail, unless he makes a mistake. And he's got such a good car. That's what the key to this race is. Like Andy said at the beginning of the show, stay on the track. Don't make any mistakes.
8 to go, 8.
If I was Brad Parrott, I'd be telling him, just take your time here. You got plenty of time. Don't try to make it happen here too quick.
All right, Juan Pablo Montoya. What a run today, by the way, for the 41 car of Pruitt. And there's contact. Montoya and Pruitt come together. Montoya, they spin around through the grass and dirt goes Montoya. Pruitt's car has yet to fire. And the caution is out.
I will tell you, I would have never believed that in a million years. Juan Montoya is just so excited and just pressed the issue a little bit getting into turn 1. My gosh, it's bad news when you take your own teammate out. And I know he didn't mean to do it. It's probably killing him right now. This happened.
It looked like to me there was a little, there's enough blame to go around there. Scott could have seen him under him right there, maybe giving him just a little bit more room. You know that did mean for that to happen, but boy, I'll tell you what. Ooh.
And you see the look there on Brad Parrott's face, and you saw the very stern look from the team owners a moment ago, Chip Ganassi, who told our Jamie Little, the only team orders we have is don't wreck each other, which is just what happened.
Let's take a look at this. As he gets into turn 1, he darts out underneath them. Oh, no, that's a tough one right there, guys. It really is, because he's kind of got the spot on the 41 of Scott Pruitt. But when you get in that situation, things happen really, really quick. Let's watch it one more time. He's committing. Oh, tell you what, I really think that Juan Pablo just pressed that issue just a little too much. He's had such a great car. I would have probably waited another corner. Last thing Ganassi Racing wants to see, but it looks like Montoya's in a position he wants to be. And look at the guys go off through turn 1 and bounce back on into turn 3, passing a lot of cars right there.
So, Rusty, had you been in the 42 car in the position Montoya was in going into 1, what do you do?
Jerry, it happens so fast. You can't say I would have done this or would. That's like, armchair quarterbacking right now. He had a lot of run. He's got a lot of adrenaline flowing. He knows he can get it done. He's passed everybody in turn 1 and turn 7, so he probably went for it. He probably thought that Scott was going to stay up and let him have it. And Scott probably figured he was far enough ahead, which, you know what? He really was.
All right, let's see exactly what Juan Pablo Montoya saw as they were coming down the front straightaway. 170 miles per hour. His teammate Scott Pruitt on the left. Montoya makes the move inside. There's contact around those Pruitt. Montoya through the grass. He's now our leader. All right, 73 of 80 laps are in the books, and the fireworks have exploded here in Mexico City. Montoya having contact with his teammate. And Scott Pruitt is now being shown back in the field in 17th position. And what does a car owner think when this happens? The one thing he didn't want to happen, Jamie Little.
That's right. Discussions going on right now with the crew chief of the 42, Brad Parrott. Chip Ganassi not sounding too happy right now as he talks to the team. Chip, one of your drivers takes out the other driver. What is your opinion of what happened?
I didn't really see it on TV there, Jamie, so I don't know. Obviously we don't like drivers of our own team, getting involved with each other, but we'll have to take a look at it and see what happened. Juan's on 10-lap fresher tires, so he's got quite a bit of car. I don't know that he had to make a move like that so soon, but.
What did you just say to his crew chief, Brad Parrott?
Oh, I was just asking if the fenders were okay.
Are the fenders okay? That's a smile, I assume so, Doc.
I believe the comment was probably something different than the fenders are okay. I mean, those of us who know Chip Ganassi know he's pretty fiery, and Brad Parrott had done a great job. Brian Patty and company, meanwhile, down in the 41 pits for the car of Scott Pruitt. I mean, what a disappointment. Now, Pruitt is being shown way back in 17th position. Can he make his way back in the top 10? Does he have enough time?
Take a look at my left front fender for me. Just make sure everything's good.
All right, moments ago, it was teammates contact. The March of Montoya happened to take a contact point right in turn 1 with his teammate. Montoya, the new leader, and the frustration continues for Scott Pruitt. Well, the Colombian contingent, they've broken out the Colombian flags for their favorite Juan Pablo Montoya. And what a performance he has put on, coming from 19th to the lead. But unfortunately, it involved contact with his teammate. We've talked to one car owner who was standing by in the 42 pits. How about the guy, Mike Massaro, who was actually sitting in the Scott Pruitt pit?
That's right, Jerry. The co-owner of the Chip Ganassi team, Felix Sabat, is standing with me right now. Felix, what's your interpretation of what just happened?
I think Montoya might have been a little too anxious. He should have waited a couple of more laps. He had a better car than Scott did. He dive bombed it in there, and Scott never saw him.
We heard earlier that team orders were specific. Don't wreck each other. That's exactly what happened. Will there be any fallout from this?
I'm sure there'll be some hard feeling for about 15 minutes, and they'll forget about it. They're race car drivers. They'll forget about it. But, yeah, we did have team orders. Don't wreck each other. But, you know, when those guys put the helmet on, the thing goes off inside their head, and they'll forget what the team orders are. So it was unfortunately happened. I think Montoya had a better car. He should have waited, but it happens. He was a little anxious.
You were in the 41 camp when this occurred. What was their reaction?
They were not happy. Just like anybody else would have wrecked him. I mean, when the green flag drops, he's man for himself. You know, there's no team. So they were pretty disappointed.
A lot of dejection on this side of the Ganassi camp, but perhaps some elation in just a few laps. Guys?
Thanks, Mike. Back to green flag racing. Montoya does not have this thing won because there is still some pretty strong cars behind him, including Denny Hamlin, last year's winner in the 20 car. Battle for third spot there as Edwards is on the inside of Boris Said, but Said takes a spot entering turn 1.
Now Montoya gets him clean track like he's got right now and stay that way and keep it on the course. I mean, he's got a great shot to win this thing, but Denny Hamlin won this thing last year. He's not going to roll over on him right now, guys. Montoya is getting ready to enter his great part of the racetrack, the S's. That's where this guy really shines, through the S's.
You see the progress of Juan Pablo Montoya the last 10 laps. Remember, when he came in for the unscheduled stop, he came back out in 19th position. He passed 14 cars in 9 laps to get to the top 10, and he's getting his hands full now.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's not letting him get away at all. He's putting some pressure on him right here.
You know, Denny's all over. He's not going to give up now. You got to remember one thing. You know, the brakes on both these cars, on the 42 and the 20 of Denny Hamlin, they're really good brakes. They don't have anything better than anybody else, and so Denny's probably going to drive it down into turn 1 for all he's worth also. So, hey, this game isn't over, guys.
Right there's a strong point for Montoya. That turn right there has been strong for him all day long.
He's coming out with a lower line, Andy. It feels like he can pick the throttle up harder off at that turn 8. And you saw that Denny really moved out on the racetrack a little bit, got the left-hand side of his car right against the grass, kicked up some dust.
And again, what you can't see at home is the fact that the 42 car has tires that are 9 laps fresher than either one of the 20 or 9 car. And Andy Petrie, that is a huge advantage on a road course.
Oh, it really is. These tires kind of go away on you to get hot and greasy. And if you can have tires that have 10 less laps, that's a big advantage.
Right now we're getting down to 4 laps to go, and he's pulling away from the 20 car, Denny Hamlin. Oh, got a spin in the back. Shane Huffman goes around, clips Mike Wallace just a little bit. Another caution flag is falling here. Just about the time we think we get something going. Another caution flag comes, going to stack him back up. Exactly what Denny Hamlin wants. He wants another shot at him.
Caution flag waves, and Juan Pablo Montoya will have to defend that position with a bent-up nose on his Texaco Havoline Dodge. And wow, this could come down to one heck of a shootout because Denny Hamlin wants to get there. His crew chief and team knows that they've got a car that could possibly get it done. Here's the contact that produced the yellow flag again as Shane Huffman goes around. Back with the restart in a moment.
This is Reforma Street. It's a lot of traffic here in Reforma. So let me show you how the Mexicans cross the street here in Reforma. So come with me, guys, okay? Enjoy.
Carlos Contreras trying to disguise the popular Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya, as Carlos Contreras, who's from Mexico City, knows how popular Juan Pablo is. You see Juan Pablo now being shown as the leader. And you know, we asked Juan Pablo Montoya, what does it mean to race here in Mexico?
You can realize it's crazy, the fans and everything being here, and the excitement of the Latin fans, you know, Mexicans and Colombian here, and it's pretty exciting to be here.
All right, the last non-American driver to win a NASCAR Busch Series event. You got to go all the way back to 2001 at Watkins Glen when Ron Fellows, the Canadian, won. Are we going to see history written again in the NASCAR Busch Series record book? Unbelievable. They're watching down in the Juan Pablo Montoya pits. There is Connie Montoya, Juan Pablo's lovely wife, his mom and dad. Pablo and Libya are also here from Miami to watch history being made. And how about these Colombian fans that have been on their feet enjoying the afternoon? They can't wait for their hero to become a NASCAR winner.
Well, what do you think? You think Denny Hamlin's going to put a bumper to him, move him out of the way a little bit, Andy? I don't know. It's a couple laps to go.
He's going to give it all he's got. He's going to give it all he's got.
Denny Hamlin, a veteran of the short tracks in South Boston, Virginia. You're not going to push Denny Hamlin around. And by the way, remember, Denny Hamlin won both events at Pocono a year ago, driving for Joe Gibbs, where you have to be able to make that hard turn into turn one. Let's see if he can do it here under Juan Pablo Montoya. 3 laps to go. What's going to happen in Mexico City?
Green.
This could be the critical point. Hamlin's going to look for making the move. He knows Montoya is going to protect the inside. Hamlin looks high. Can he get there?
Looks like he was going to try that move, but it didn't work for him.
Montoya bobbles with the rear end a little bit. Gets Hamlin right on the rear bumper.
Oh, and he gets a little contact.
Montoya's just got to get the stuff off his tires, and he's got to set sail. He's got to kind of get some rhythm.
Caution's out. Back it down. Caution's out. Back it down.
Caution is out. There is debris off of the cars that have made contact on the front straightaway.
Okay, that last restart was not an attempt at a green-white checker, so now we will have that green-white checker finish coming up.
And here Juan Pablo Montoya saying, wow, guys, that 20 car is awfully stout, and I think even Juan Pablo may have tried to be a little too aggressive in one. It may have cost him his back of his car wiggling.
Well, what happened right there is he moved to the right-hand side to protect the inside going into turn one, and it put him in a little bad position coming through the next left-hander. So it allowed Denny Hamlin to catch right back up on him and enable him to get on his bumper and rough him up a little bit.
If you're the crew chief for Denny Hamlin in the 20 car, what are you telling your young driver?
I'm going to say try it again. Do it again. Whatever you did right there. That almost worked for you.
Okay, you sure you want to? I tell you what, it's going to be something this last couple laps, man. I tell you what. All that debris on the tires. You saw Juan Pablo come through turn 3 right there, sliding around. You know, Denny Hamlin got right to his bumper. Tell you what, Denny's got him in sights right now. And I remember watching Denny at Hickory Motor Speedway. This kid's not afraid to put a bumper to you. Hey, in the short tracks, that's the way you got to race.
Ain't over till it's over.
It's not over, man. We're at Mexico City. This is a big one. This baby pays a lot of money. These drivers are getting amped up. And if I was Denny Hamlin, hey, I'm going to try to get him, man.
All right, Joe Gibbs wouldn't hire if he didn't believe.
Yes, sir. We will be going through.
And there is the watching. There's Connie Montoya, left side of your screen, the Texaco Havoline crew. wondering, can he hold on? Here's a young man who won a Kart Series championship as a rookie with 7 victories for Chip Ganassi. A year later, as a rookie at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he won the coveted Indianapolis 500. Then he goes to Formula One and wins the biggest of all, the Grand Prix of Monaco. And guess what, folks? Today, he is a rookie in the NASCAR Busch Series. Wow, what a phenomenal performance it could be. Unfortunately, though, it involved contact with his teammate, and that could have repercussions, maybe even after the checkered flag. We'll have to wait and see. We'll take a quick break and come back with the exciting finish. Can Montoya hang on? These fans hope so. Will Denny Hamlin be able to make that move? We'll find out when we come back. We welcome you back to the final laps of the Telcel Motorola Mexico 200. Our NASCAR.com ESPN reset shows you that Juan Pablo Montoya has never won in a NASCAR Busch Series event. He's hoping to change that 2 laps from right now, making only his 7th career start. And Rusty Wallace, there's a lot to think about with these top couple of cars.
There's a lot to think about right now. Denny Hamlin, he knows how to do these restarts. There's a lot of rubber buildup on those guys' tires. You saw all the debris on the racetrack with some of our camera shots. I'm not so sure Juan knows about that. Denny knows how to get these things cleaned off in a good restart. We'll see what happens.
They will get 1 shot at a green-white checker. The green flag will wave, then the white flag, the checker flag. Only 1 shot. The fans are on their feet. Here come the drivers, and the green flag waves. Carl Edwards trying to make a move inside of Said for 3rd spot. Montoya trying to rocket his way into turn 1 and not get dive-bombed by Hamlin.
He got a great restart, Montoya did. That gave him a little distance on him getting in turn 1.
That's exactly what Montoya needed, a good restart like that. He needs to get through a couple more corners because Denny's not letting him breathe at all. He's right on his bumper. Now Montoya gets through turn 4 and gets to those S's where he's so good. Maybe he can get some room right there. But boy, I tell you what, I'd be driving my guts out right now because you know Denny is.
Juan Pablo Montoya trying to remain poised and composed. He has come from 19th position in the final 24 laps after a problem with fueling the car. Connie there with her hands folded, hoping she is going to see her husband win for the first time as a NASCAR driver.
Turn 6, the most important turn. Exit that turn wide open if you can. Juan Pablo Montoya's been very good there. You see he picked a little ground up right now. He's got about 3 car lengths between him and Denny Hamlin. That's some pretty good breathing room because he's been better in turn 7. He's entering right now than anybody on the track all day long today. Good exit off of turn 8 right there. A lot of straightaway speed. He's looking good right now, guys.
He slipped up a little bit off that corner, though.
White flag this time by. He's got one more attempt.
Nice and smooth, buddy.
He's got to hold off Hamlin this time. This is Denny Hamlin's best shot in turn 1 if he can get there on the final lap. Connie Montoya knows that he's got him by 2 car lengths. She has seen her husband time and again pull it off at Indianapolis. Cars off the racetrack.
That was Regan Smith running in 5th position. He comes back on the track, doesn't lose hardly anything, so he's kind of back in the game with Carl Edwards again. No problem with Regan Smith. Now, Juan Pablo, pretty good lead going into turn 4. Another passing zone, but he's not got anybody messing with him now. That's off at turn 4, Andy. That's a real tough, leading to the S's. Again, that's where he's good at.
Just a few corners to go here. Just got to hit his marks.
Remember in qualifying, he overdrove the S's and he jammed on the brakes and smoked the tires. It cost him a chance at the pole. He was frustrated. He was downright angry. He came out of the car throwing things, saying the expectations are that I'm going to come to Mexico and win in a NASCAR Busch Series race.
A good turn, exit off of turn 6, a lot of speed. Coming into 7, up off 8 right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, open up the NASCAR history books because out of turn 8, Juan Pablo Montoya becomes the next winner of the NASCAR Busch Series. Juan Pablo Montoya has won it here at Mexico City, and the fans are going wild. What an effort
And Scott Pruitt has made it up to 5th position. That's his teammate, so it's not so bad. Pruitt has come from 17th all the way up to 5th. He had a great car, too. You know, this is bittersweet to see Montoya win this thing, but he's got to be feeling really blue right now that he had contact with his own teammate. Regan Smith comes across the line with the right front corner, tore off his car.
There's a celebration, and give a call to Brad Parrott and his entire crew. And Andy, you know the feeling of Brad Parrott right now to have to come from as far back on all the things they had to overcome.
Never give up. That's what Brad knows. Never give up.
Never give up. Mike Massaro with Brad Parrott.
A lot of emotion, Doc, down here in the Chip Ganassi camp. The winners, a rough day yesterday in qualifying, a topsy-turvy day today. How would you describe the emotion right now?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm upset that we wrecked Scott Pruitt. You know, Scott's got a great team with Brian Patty and the Juicy Fruit car, and I'm glad we won the race, but I'm really upset that we took out our teammate, and, you know, Juan's got a long way to go. He's a great driver, but, you know, he's got to get his head on, and, you know, he does. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he don't have his head on, but we had plenty of time to get by Pruitt, and, you know, I'm real proud of Juan and the job this whole Texaco, Haviland, Telcel car team did, Dodge team did. You know, I'm excited, but then again, I feel for Brian Patty because we worked hard to try to build a team that could work together, and it's tough.
Brad, obviously very emotional. What's the most meaningful part of this for you right now?
You know, we come to Mexico and won the race. We wrecked 3 weeks ago at VIR. We built the car back, and you know, the team's just outstanding. The motor shop, the fab shop, everybody that put their hands on this race car is outstanding in my eyes. And you know, yesterday wasn't easy, and but we have the best driver in the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Doc, this is bigger than just simply a Busch Series win.
You can see the emotion from Brad Parrott. Mixed emotions. He wants to celebrate. He wants to receive all the hugs, but he is so sad for his fellow crew chief, Brian Patty, as he gets hugs down there from Connie Montoya. And a moment ago, Scott Pruitt made his way up to the 42 beside his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya, who climbing down to the car to salute the fans from Colombia and Mexico who have been on their feet for much of this race today.
Well, it's a fantastic run from Juan Pablo. You know, that guy had the fastest car most of the day. He was dicing through the field. He deserves to win the race, but he just feels so bad about taking Pruitt out. And I totally understand what Brad Parrott's saying. He's a real emotional guy, but look at this. You know, hey, Andy, one thing I'm worried about, he stood up on the roof of that car. I hope he didn't dent it in because NASCAR doesn't like that.
He'll be okay. He just proved to the whole world that he's a stock car driver.
We're going to see a lot of Juan Pablo, Jerry, in NASCAR from here to come.
Absolutely, and here is Scott Pruitt, and very, very frustrated. And just, you know, you heard you see his voice of all people, Alan Bestwick.
With Scott Pruitt, Scott, what are your thoughts?
Of all the people to take you out, your teammate. I mean, that was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving. I mean, you know, the Juicy Fruit car ran great all day long. We were making our calls. We were being smart. I had my family at home. It's just, I can't even put it into words. It's just so disappointing. We talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it in the meetings. He's faster than me, you know, we'll work it out, he can go, you know, but not take each other out. That's just bad driving.
Well, what do you say? You know, I mean, I totally feel for Scott Pruitt, but I think he's, you know, they'll wake up tomorrow, and I'll tell you what, when a day passes, it always seems like it gets better. There's so much emotion right now, and I totally understand. They both won the coveted 24 hours together as teammates. They were two of the best drivers at Daytona. I'll tell you what, a lot of emotions running down here, guys, a lot of emotions.
Juan Pablo is taking that checkered flag for the first time in NASCAR history. He is going to be in NASCAR Busch Series, NASCAR Nextel Cup for many, many years to come. Juan Pablo Montoya wins at Mexico City. When we come back, we'll talk to the winner in just a moment. All right, retaliation after the checkered flag. Scott Pruitt not at all happy with his teammate. Caught up with Juan Pablo Montoya and gave him that nudge, but it's Juan Pablo who waves the checkered flag to the fans a moment ago, to the celebration of all the Mexican and Colombian fans. Let's go to victory lane.
Juan Pablo Montoya climbs from his car victorious, getting the Busch bath here. In 7 starts, that's all it took in the Busch Series to get this victory. Juan, your baptism into NASCAR continues. Take us through today. What are the first thoughts on your mind?
Well, you know, it was a great day. Texaco Javelin Dodge today, and with Telcel, you know, they did an amazing job. Yesterday, we was a little disappointed with qualifying. It was 30, wasn't great, but you know, it's great being here in Mexico. You know, being Telcel involved in the car, Texaco and Javelin, and just everybody. You know, gotta thank Chip.
There were high points, low points today. Of course, the low point. Talk about your teammate. What happened?
Well, it felt really bad because we both needed a really good finish. And I went into the braking, and we were both braking about the same point, but he was slowing down the car a lot more. And he kind of stayed wide, so I went for the inside. And when I was there, he just turned, and I had nowhere to go. I feel really sorry about him, but, you know.
What does it mean to you to come down here to Mexico and win in Latin America? There's his wife.
Oh, it's big, you know. We got this one out of the way now, and, you know, the next one we need to win in an oval. I want to win in an oval. You know, that's where we need to be good.
A true champion, Doc. His sights are set on the next goal to win on an oval. Juan Pablo Montoya, before this, his best start and finish actually was 39th. Doc?
All right, thank you, Jamie. And just the crew chiefs, Brad Parrott and Brian Patty, able to try to sort of decompress from what just happened a moment ago, discussing, still not real happy about what their drivers did in that contact. We'll wrap it up from Mexico City when we come back in just a moment.
Attention, if you do not have health insurance, have limited health insurance, or are uninsurable and are worried about the cost of health care, this announcement is for you. For less than $2 a day, your entire family can save thousands of dollars on all medical expenses thanks to Synergy Health. With more than 600,000 providers around the country, Synergy Health can save you up to 60% on doctors, hospitals, hearing, vision, prescriptions, and even dental care. Plus, you'll get great savings on chiropractic, alternative medicine, and much more. And here's the best part. Synergy Health offers guaranteed acceptance to everyone, no matter what your health history or income, at the same low price. Call our 800 number and learn how Synergy Health is helping families like yours for less than $2 a day. There is no obligation, and the information is free.
Call 1-800-214-7312 for free information. That's 1-800-214-7312. There's absolutely no obligation.
Prepare for a NASCAR experience like never before. Every lap, every driver, all on your computer. Now you're in control. Who will you listen to?
All clear. Nice job, buddy.
Who will you follow? What view will you choose? The all-new Track Pass Race View. Available now only at the new NASCAR.com. Log on to subscribe. Track Pass Race View. Your driver, your view.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Race fans are not the only fanatics.
What? Wow, I can't believe it. Look, I just got my Featherlight recreational trailer, so excuse me if I'm a little excited. It's got plenty of living space and cargo room to haul all my gear.
Now is the time to own the most versatile trailer on the road. But watch out, it's easy to become a Featherlight fanatic.
Woohoo! Yeah! Woo-hoo! Featherlight, baby!
And don't forget, the action continues next week when the NASCAR Busch Series heads to Las Vegas, Nevada. Our live flag-to-flag coverage coming up Saturday, March 10th, 2:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Also available in ABC High Definition. Let's check in with Dave, who's caught up with the second-place finisher.
And, Doc, that is Denny Hamlin. He finished right behind Juan Pablo Montoya. Second to last restart. You were right on his bumper. What happened on the last restart, Denny?
He was a little brake happy, and I was sitting here looking at how far the restart line was, and I'm not going to lie, because he had a much faster race car. He just, he got us there at the end. We had our one shot on that one restart where we got close, and they had that caution right when I got to his bumper. So that was our one shot to do it, and we didn't come up with it.
Denny Hamlin racking up a good average finish here at Mexico City. Second today, winner last year. Jerry?
All right, Dave, thank you very much. As you take a look at the finishing order across the top of your screen, guys, your thoughts on this phenomenal performance we saw today?
Well, we really expected. We thought if Juan Pablo Montoya was going to get back in his groove after a couple accidents early in the year, it was going to be here in Mexico in a road course. But I'll tell you what, don't give up now, Jerry, because we saw one heck of a race at Daytona. We saw California with a crazy race there. Mexico City, now we're going to Vegas next week. A whole brand new racetrack, repaved, reshaped. We're looking at 4 different tracks so far this year.
I'll tell you what I'm impressed with is the way this Chip Ganassi 42 team overcame so much to win this race. They wrecked that car at Virginia International Raceway. When they were testing it, they came here. They had a problem with the car. They fixed it. They had a little confrontation with their teammate and then won the race. What a race.
We saw a phenomenal performance today. It will be forever remembered by the fans in the stands as the March of Montoya. The former international superstar, Formula One champion, came here to Mexico where he knew the fans were going to appreciate what NASCAR was all about. They waved the green flag. There was action from the start. All over the racetrack, disappointment. They couldn't get this car to fill with fuel. But Juan Montoya roared back. The pushing and shoving took place. But when the checkered flag waved, it was history being made for NASCAR. Juan Pablo Montoya wins at Mexico City. So long, everyone, from Mexico.